It's 9 o'clock and my microphone's too far away from me. Couple of I'll wait.
No.
All right, I've already called you to order, and I noticed lots of empty spaces where the Winter Texans are supposed to sit, so try to fill up some seats. Monique, would you call the roll to establish a quorum?
Yes, ma'am. Miss Barron?
Here.
Mr. Sweet?
Here.
Miss Castle?
Here.
Mr. Herman?
Here.
Miss Hagan?
Here.
We have quorum.
Let's all stand.
Lord, we ask that you look over and watch this meeting, bless this meeting this morning, and bless our directors who are conducting the business of the board and our director of operations who is endeavoring to move us forward. We ask that you protect our troops, protect our law enforcement who endeavor to protect us. We ask that you watch over everyone whose family is represented here this morning. We thank you for the rain and all of the blessings that you have bestowed upon us here at Fort Clark Springs. We ask all of this in Jesus' name.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. On the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Do we have any announcements or correspondence? I do have one announcement. We've started putting the board meetings back on the website. You'll find last month's meeting there, and we're going to try to pick up all of them and get them up there as fast as we can. It takes forever to do one of those things. So you may appreciate that the people that usually do them have been doing their regular work instead of doing that. So we'll try to get them up there as fast as we can, going backwards. Did I have another? Oh yes. I'm going to let Monique tell us about the prom tonight and ask your blessing on this.
I just wanted everybody to be aware that Bracketville is having their prom at the Post Theater this evening, so you can expect several cars parked on Fort Clark Road, and the road in front of the Post Theater will be blocked off for a period of time because they're going to have an old car parked in front of the theater for photo opportunities for the kids. The theme of the prom is The Great Gatsby this year, so I just wanted to let everybody be aware so that you know what's going on. Okay?
That high school kids still know about The Great Gatsby is a good thing, isn't it? Community Council has a check presentation for us.
This has to do with...
Helena?
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you to pull that back. There's a camera there, and you need to be in front of the camera so that... Okay, just a little bit back, and then we'll...
Back?
Not too much.
Like
I
this?
want you in the... You're supposed to be in...
Side.
Oh, there it is.
Okay.
There you go.
I don't know.
Neither do I.
A little bit more. Well, this has to do with Fort Clark Days 2015. Gina Forrester and I were co-chair, and we think it was a successful Fort Clark Days. We know it was. We have all kinds of people that we should thank. And first of all, the board for allowing us and assisting us with support. David Box was helpful, as well as Monique. Our committee people who really saved the day for us, I think. Allison Watkinson, Chuck Fields, Norma Rowland, Bob Hendricks, Mary Partlow, Philip Garcia, which heads the maintenance department, who were super, super wonderful. Let's see, Sue Martin, David, as I mentioned, David Box, Monique, John Veach, and Rick Myers. So, John Rosetsky, I said that.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, sorry. And so we wound up with a profit of $12,408.61. Now, the usual thing is we take $3,500 out of that and save it for next year's Fort Clark Days. So we wound up with $8,908.61. 60% goes to the, and this is the third year that we're doing this, 60% of that money goes to the, let me get this right, Historic Building Preservation Committee. And so they are going to get $5,345.17. The other 40% comes back to Community Council for use for permanent structural things for Fort Clark Days. So Community Council then will get $3,563.44. So we think that's great. This is what the check looks like. So we have that. It's large, but.
It's large.
It's a photo op.
It's a photo op, what can I say? Yeah, so. And Garland Young will take the check, I think. Garland's chairman or president of that committee. Chairman.
Oh, I
So,
thought you were gonna take the big one.
do you want the big one or the little one?
Which one
I
fits in
put
your
it-
pocket?
I was afraid it would get wet in the rain, so I actually put it in a plastic bag, so, so you got to the bank.
Put that up in the community council.
Gar- oh dear.
You need to turn over.
Oh, we're turning, we're turning.
Thank you.
All right, very good. Super. Spend it well.
I'll turn this over to the treasurer of the board so they can get a deposit.
A quick heads up, we are needing someone to chair the next year's Fort Clark Days event.
Any event, anybody.
Okay, bye-bye. This is a red and
I forgot who was in charge. Let's have quiet because my voice doesn't carry even with a microphone. Bill, would you like to? We have an approval of the minutes next.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes of the last meeting.
I have an item of discussion before we approve them, please.
Go ahead.
Mr. Hahn has
Wait a minute, excuse me. There needs to be a second before we can discuss it.
discussed, okay,
All right.
all right. Mr. Hahn has made a statement in emails and things that the minutes have not been accurate about our declarations compliance committee. And the only thing that I can say is that I think at the end of those, that he always made a statement to the board, do you have any questions? And to my best of my knowledge, I don't think there was ever any questions. And I think that needs to be added into our minutes. That at the end of each one of his reports, that was omitted in the minutes.
Okay. Do you want to do that going forward, or do you want to go backwards and pick up all of them? Bill,
I'm not sure if I understand what she's saying.
we'll get it straight. Excuse me. Ann, do you want to explain?
Yes, I said at the end of Mr. Hahn's report, he has always asked the board the question, are there any questions concerning the report? And I don't think there ever was any, and that might be significant if we need to deal with that. It's right here. About 4 up from the bottom.
Is that under the declaration?
Yes.
Are you suggesting that in his statement or under the Declaration of Compliance Committee report that you want to add that Mr. Hahn asked if there was any questions? And is that what you're saying?
Yes, I'm saying that Mr. Hahn asked the board, after he gave our report, each time, are there any questions from the board? And there, to my knowledge, there was not any. That's the only thing that I have any recollection of that might not have been printed into the minutes. But you might ask Mr. Hahn if he had any other statements.
I'm sorry, I don't understand. I really don't.
We're gonna have to,
Are you? Yeah, I understand, but what, I don't understand what. She's asking to put that in?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
what I don't understand.
yes, that's what she said.
Well, that's up to, I guess that would be up to us as the board to decide whether it should be put in there or not.
Yeah.
Well, if it was stated, then there's no harm in it going into the minutes, as long as it's accurately stated that. But then also, any other, after the fact, any other of the committees that have changes to make should be allowed to make them as well.
Yes.
Are you suggesting an amendment to the April minutes? Is that what you're suggesting?
If you could put it in there that he asked for that at the end of every one of his reports, we could add that to
this-
our April minutes, yes.
Excuse me,
To May or to April? To May or
May.
to April?
to May.
All right. Then that makes,
No, this is May.
This is May. It would be the
That's-
April report,
no, I
yes.
think if you're going to change something, you've just asked for it to be changed in the May.
It hasn't happened yet.
This is May.
It will go in this month's minutes.
She's
then.
asking for a change to be made to the April 18th minutes.
And I'm suggesting that we make that change in the May minutes and point out that we have been in error by not including it in each of our reports in the minutes on the Declaration of Compliance Committee. Is
I
that?
accept that
All
change.
right. Then, so that doesn't make any change in the April minutes. And I'm asking whether or not there is approval for the April minutes as they are now. All in favor? That's unanimous. And we will make that notation in the May minutes. Do we have a treasurer's report? He just did. Thank you. He keeps me on. No, I think that we've got that straight.
Are you ready?
Yes, please, I'm sorry.
It's all right.
He's trying to keep me on track.
Oh, I think it's the humidity. Can you hear me? Okay. Bank balances as of Wednesday, May 13th, the Del Rio Bank of Texas Community. Credit card account is $14,450.50. Community checking, $15,866.78. Community money market, $2,561.11. Brackettville Bank and Trust, the general fund, had $197,669.33. A payroll account, $6,277.94. Impound account, $275,413.77. Las Morris account, $45,316.30, for a subtotal of $557,555.73. Adding in the Fort Clark Historical Building Preservation Fund account, $37,184.58, for a grand total of $594,740.31. Bank transfers, and we're trying to clarify this a little bit more for what a bank transfer is. Texas Community Bank in Del Rio holds a credit card account, and all money from all credit card transactions, except those at the restaurants, go into that account, including assessments. They have a checking account. Money is transferred from the credit card account into the checking account as necessary to pay bills. The third account is a money market account. Bank and Trust in Brackettville has the general fund account, and money from auto banks, which means is if we take something automatically from your checking account or some other bank account that you have, and all mailed assessments go into the general fund. We have a payroll account, and money is transferred from the general fund to the payroll account each month to cover payroll expense. We have the impound account. Money can be transferred from there into the preservation account as needed. Right now we're using up what's already in there. And that the Historical Society account is there. We have a CD. Turn the page, Hagen. And the Las Morris account is there. And all revenue from the restaurant goes into that account, and all expenses for the restaurant, beer and wine, license sales, is paid out of that account. It doesn't come out of anywhere else but Las Morris. Los Morris funds are not commingled with the rest of the funds. So based on that, the April 2015 estimated amounts were, we estimated a total of Texas Community Checking of $100,000 for operating expenses and bank and trust payroll of $65,000 for a total of $165,000. April's actual amounts required was Texas Community Checking at $59,000 for operating expenses and bank and trust payroll for $83,750 for a total of $142,750, which is $23,000 less than we anticipated. In May 2014, the actual transfer, and this is what we look at to kind of guess what we're going to need in May of 2015, Texas Community Checking was $64,500 transferred for operating expense and payroll $59,000 for a total of $123,500. The estimated for May for community checking for operating expense is $70,000. Bank and trust payroll is $65,000 for a total of $135,000 anticipated for transfer. Now we will obviously know what was required till May's figures are in.
Did we need a motion for approval of transfer of funds, Sandy?
Yes. I move that we approve the transfer of funds as read.
I second.
Seconded by Ann. Any discussion? All in favor? Sorry. All in favor of bank transfers? Sandy, before we move on, you have explained some things I'm sure members have been questioning in their minds, but finally they know what it is. I appreciate that. I know others do too. I guess we've got Judge Shahan here somewhere. We appreciate you being here. If we do something wrong, you tell us. Okay. Thanks for coming this morning. Thank you. Director of Operations report.
Thank you. All right. I'd like to start off with the P&L. And the reason why it looks different, I changed it to hopefully make it easier to read and for it to make more sense. By doing it this way, we're able to break out the different areas and actually see what's making money, what isn't, and how we can fix that. So that's kind of why I did that. So I'll just go through it really quickly. For Fort Clark.
Excuse me, John, is this the one that the audience received?
Yes.
Okay, if you picked up one, you can follow along with what he's talking about now. It's not just we who have gotten it.
Yeah, if you want, it is up there. And again, going forward, I'd like to see when we get back to the next fiscal budget, we look at doing it this way, because I think it would make more sense. But all I did was take our numbers out of QuickBooks, dump it into Excel spreadsheet, and I combine certain things so it wouldn't be pages long. But and we'll go through it real quick. Income that Fort Clark Springs Association, so this is basically income from assessments, rentals, that kind of thing, was $107,125. Real estate income, that's transfer fees, any lots we sold, anything like that. Income was $10,281. So the total right there of income is $117,406 for April. Then we start going into expenses. And what I tried to do is break down all the expenses to Fort Clark Springs, keeping the motel, RV park, those things separate, which we'll cover here in a minute. So admin expenses, of course, the biggest expense is payroll. It's $20,024. And then as you start going through this, I started seeing things that we're working on. Electricity, it's something I need to look into. What I'm finding out is when we get billed our electricity, sometimes it's in the right month, sometimes it isn't. So what we're trying to do is go back and make sure those things start getting inputted in the correct month so we actually see, we have a more realistic picture of what's happening. And this month, we end up having some electricity from last month that got billed to this month. So, it's different things that we're learning and how to do it the correct way. So if you look electricity right here, it's 5,000, a little over $5,000. And as you go through things, some things I'll just point out, contract services is higher than it should be. That was, we had to get some things done on the computers. We had Randy here working, helping us get the numbers together. So those numbers will start coming down. When you get down to depreciation and bad debt expenses, when we get down to the bottom line, you'll see I have that on the P&L with and without those. Depending on who you talk to, some people think it should be included, some people think it shouldn't. So I did it both ways. I didn't want anyone to think I was hiding anything or anything like that. I just did it both ways. So you can see it and interpret it any way you want. One other thing on there I want to point out, the other expenses. There was a category on our in our QuickBooks, it was called unclassified, which we're going to do away with. I don't like unclassified, and I don't know what that means. So I went and dug out and figured out what that was. Some of that was electricity, so some of that money is actual electricity and some other expenses. So by our next P&L, we're going to get that sorted out and put, basically it was bills that come up they didn't know what to do with. So they just put it in unclassified. Well, we're not going to do that anymore. We're going to put it in an actual account it belongs. So then going down to maintenance, maintenance payroll, a little over 15,000. And if you look at the maintenance repair, $1,549. We spent $1,549 for a 2,700 acre facility to do maintenance. It's putting things together with duct tape, if you ask me, but that's something we need to look at next budget. Security, again, security is not going to make money. It's going to take money to keep a place secure. So that was that. And so net income and loss for the month for just that section was a loss of $28,148. If you take out depreciation and bad debt, it's $7,800. So you can interpret it any way you'd like. But those are the numbers that I'm kind of looking at going forward. How do we fix that? What are we going to do? And I have a lot of ideas I'm going to talk about here in a minute. Now, golf. This is breaking down just golf itself. The payroll in there is the actual payroll for the pro shop and golf maintenance. Even though we put Philip overall maintenance, I still think it's important to have golf maintenance separate from the other maintenance as far as tracking the money. And you can see kind of where we ended up with golf. There's a lot of things we can do there. We just started a group on with golf, so that is live right now. So we should start getting some more people to our golf course. From mainly we're targeting the San Antonio area, as well as the pro shop. I think we have a huge opportunity to put things in the pro shop that we could sell because it needs some help. So we're going to work on that, and hopefully that will work on some of those numbers. Recreation, getting down there, that $440 of income is primarily the money that came in from the resort fee, people coming and visit. With recreation, the way the funding comes, right now, when, let's say someone comes and books the service club, that money is going into the membership account instead of the recreation account. That's something that we'll have to change in the next budget cycle, so it's a more accurate picture of what's actually happening. But that's an area with corporate events and different things we're doing. I really think we can work on that area. The motel, we all know the motel is profitable. It was profitable this month as well. That payroll is everyone that works in the motel, housekeeping, all those different things, and we did come up with a profit in the motel. RV park, same thing. We made a whole $56 in profit. Now, that's something that's mainly because our winter Texans are gone. But looking at that number, that tells me I'm going to try to do what I can this year, but by next year, we need to have a plan in place to try to get more people in the RV park during the summer. And I have some ideas working through Groupon and Travel Zoo and some other areas that I think we can do that. But even, they still made a small profit, which is nice. And then the restaurant. And by far, the area that we spent the most time so far in trying to improve is the restaurant. The restaurant actually came out, and some of this was due to the movie crew that was here, and a lot of it is due to the members who are coming back and spending money in our restaurant. I want to thank them so much. But the restaurant actually made a profit of $3,280 last month. So that was good to see. And we've done a lot of things in the restaurant. First of all, we have new hours. We closed on Mondays because the pro shop isn't open. On Mondays, we are making $200 to $300, which isn't, we need to make $500 to $600 at least a day just to break even in the restaurant. So we changed it to Wednesday. So now we're Wednesday through Sunday, and we used to be closed on Wednesday. Well, last Wednesday, we made $700. So that was an improvement. Our Mother's Day, we did our first time Mother's Day buffet, and I know there was issues. We're going through some growing pains in that account because we're not used to being a busy restaurant. But it was also the most profitable day we've had in the restaurant. We made $1,200 in the restaurant that day. Even last night, so we made $1,100 last night in the restaurant. You know, so people are starting to come back. We're getting there, and I'm just going to ask the board and the members, bear with us while we go through these growing pains. We're learning how to be a profitable restaurant. That's going to take some time. We made some personnel changes. We've changed the way we ordered. We've put in standards for portion control, and those are the main things I think contributing to it. So I think going forward we can learn how to run a restaurant, which is important because if we are going to get Dickman Hall open someday, we need to know how to run a restaurant. So anyways, that covers the P&L for the most part. I'm going to kind of go into some other things now. Next thing I want to talk about, and I've heard...
Question for you.
Yes, sir.
When you say we made $1,200, you talking about sales? Or
Those are sales. It's not profit. Yeah, and we should profit about half of that, depending on, you know. I think we do a little bit better on buffets, to be honest. And when we're busy, we almost have to go to a buffet. That restaurant can't handle a large volume of people, simply because the grill isn't big enough to make enough food to service everybody. So when we get to a certain busyness, if you will, we need to go to buffet. It's the only way we can do it. So going forward, any major tournaments, anything like that, that's why Mother's Day we did buffet. And I know there's issues. I heard about the issues. I've talked to the staff about the issues, and we're going to work through those. So.
One more question.
Yes, sir.
On the expense report for April, what is the expense of the golf club? Let's see.
The what?
Expense for the golf club.
The pro shop?
You had, well, yeah, whatever money you spend out there.
Yeah, on the one you're looking at right there, it's included in everything. That's why I broke out this one and broke out the different parts of it. So the one right there next to you, that's the one I broke everything out. The one you're looking at is straight from QuickBooks in your book. And the expenses are kind of combined there. That's why I did this, to make it, we can actually read it and find out what we're doing.
Oh, that? That's why I didn't say it.
You got it. All right, moving on. I want to talk a little bit about what I call membership rights. And I have had some members come talk to me, and I appreciate them doing that. I made no secret that I don't want members, guests, to have to pay to use our facilities. So if a member has some people they want to come play bridge or they want to come play softball, I think a member living here should have the ability to do that without charging more money to do that. Now, I do need to make one point clear. The member is responsible for ensuring that their guests behave. Real quick, we had a situation at the swim park where a member called someone in. The lady came in, dropped her kids off at the swim park, and took off. Okay, the kids not being watched by anybody, nothing like that. Security saw it, informed me, and we banned the person from coming back. So, and we did talk to them later on. They came and talked to us, and we are going to allow them to come back if they are going to watch their kids. But guys, I call that growing pains. You know, we're going to go through some of that, but I am committed to the point where I don't want members to have to pay to have guests coming in. I don't think it's right. So we're doing away with that, but we are opening up for people to come in that are going to behave and charge a fee from the outside. Now, I'm committed to protecting every member's rights here. And if we ever have someone who is misbehaving and doing something the member doesn't like, we'll deal with that. But we are going to have these growing pains as we go through. So I just wanted to point that out. And anyone can come talk to me anytime they want about issues. I've talked to several people, and nothing really major, but there are a few things out there. Right in front of my house, there's a group playing softball a couple of times a week, and members that came and talked to me about their rights to walk on the track. So I'm actually going to go out there next week and talk to the people and see if we can't work something out. There's kids out there, members are telling me that aren't being watched and running on the track when the members are trying to walk on the track. So we'll go out there and deal with those issues as they come up. But I just wanted to publicly say that we're working on it and we're done with it. Okay, a few things that are kind of on the horizon that we're working on. We actually have a member here who lives on the fort, who's the assistant manager to Walmart in B.O.D. And if you don't know anything about what Walmart does for the community, they actually have a budget where they can spend money on community upgrades and what's nice about it is they let the store level decide where that money is being spent. So a member approached me about the basketball courts and tennis courts by the adult center and how his son is trying to play there and how tore up they are, and they're in pretty bad shape. So we're working with him and Walmart, and we submitted a proposal to them to get funding from Walmart to redo the basketball and tennis courts on the property. Now, whether that will get approved or not, I don't know for sure, but we're working on it, and we've already contacted the community council to use their nonprofit status in order to accept that money and get that project done. So that's something that we're working on. Everyone knows we do another thing. Everyone knows we do a Border Patrol does Border Bash every year, and as a result of that just happening this last month, I was analyzing it and found out we're not really making that much money off that event. And I'm very pro law enforcement, and I want to make sure that we're doing things for law enforcement. But I'd rather see something to where they help us with a project and we help sponsor that event. I think it would make a lot more sense. So what I approached them is about the Border Patrol. They do play softball, so I approached them about helping us redo our softball field in exchange for us sponsoring the event for them. So we're in contact with them and negotiations right now about that. And they actually want to do another event here in October through the golf course. So we're talking with them right now about that. I approached Union Pacific. You guys know that, well, y'all know that they're building the new railroad station in Spofford. So I approached their management about, they're having 130 new employees here. Most of them are contracted, but 15 new managers that are going to be working out of that facility. So I approached them about, coming and living here. I'd rather see them live on the fort than anywhere else. So as they start moving and they getting down here, we're going to invite them in, show them around, and hopefully help them facilitate a solution to where they can come live here. They also have a budget for community events as well. So I'm actually going to be talking to them next week and seeing if they want to sponsor something on the fort, another project, possibly another playground for kids, possibly the old quarry, the amphitheater, maybe getting some of that done. But I think there's an opportunity that we can do things there. Finally, one thing I'm working on as well, I had going through the adult center, and I walked it with a member the other day, and it needs some work. And so I just think we could start with small things. First of all, the pool tables, and I know a lot of people, pool's a good game that a lot of people can play. So what I want to look at is getting those pool tables redone and brought downstairs so that everyone has access to them. And to do it's going to cost about $1,100, but going through a website that another member told us, we found $800 that belongs to the fort. There's actually a website in Texas, Unclaimed Money. And we went there, and the fort has $800 that's unclaimed. So I want to take that $800 and put it to the pool table and get that done. So free money, yeah. Anyways, so those are just things that we're working on. In the last month, things we're trying to get done. Social media, talk a little bit about that. Facebook followers are up to 438, so we are getting there. And that, it just takes time. Groupon, we are running a Groupon right now for the first time. It's targeted in San Antonio specifically for the golf course. My hope is people will come to play golf. They'll look at our website and be like, oh, I can stay there, and they'll end up staying for a weekend. And hopefully in the RV park would be nice. But that's kind of what we're working on there. I had a gentleman, this is a completely separate thing, a gentleman approached me about a wireless company, a guy who's trying to build a new wireless company out here. He has one in, and I'm talking about internet wireless. He has a company in B.O.D. and he wants to expand this way. He wants to put a tower on the fort, and maybe on the water tower, to where he can get wireless for the community. I told him I would consider taking that to the board if he gave us free Wi-Fi in our admin, teen center, and adult center. So that way someone in the adult center can go in with their iPad, read a newspaper. We can have wireless internet connection in admin, which we don't have right now, and the teen center. So teens can go in there, do homework, that sort of thing. So that's another thing we're kind of working with right now. Next thing, I went to a birding conference last week, and I was absolutely blown away by the, yes?
It sounded like a burning conference.
Birding, yes.
Would you make that clear to the audience?
Birding, sorry, yeah, bird. I was blown away. There was actually, they did several presentations, but one was a lady who actually turned her property into a place where people can come just to do birding. And what I found out, we have everything that she has, but pretty much 10 times better, and most of it's natural here. We have over 270 distinct birds on the property. I was just blown away. So I asked Philip in maintenance, we're going to put together a couple bird blinds on the property, and then hopefully what I want to do by next year is get an actual birding event here where people can come, they can learn about the birds, learn about the fort. And I actually did my first bird watching on Saturday, last Saturday, which is why I missed community council, sorry, but you know, I had to go check it out for myself. So anyways, there's a huge opportunity there that we're going to be working with. Next thing is duck in. Philip and the maintenance team, and we did it all in-house, went in and got the wiring done, so duck in is now able to be reopened. We're going to reopen it for the summer. I'm going to try to get it done by Memorial Day, but honestly it might go into June by the time I get everything ordered and get everything in there. But we are going to have duck in open. It's probably going to be open Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 12 to 6, something like that, bringing in some additional revenue for the summer. When I went down there on Easter, I was absolutely blown away by the amount of people and the money we're losing not having duck in open. So thank you to Philip and that team, but and Kurt was a big part of that. But you know, getting that done. So we're going to be moving forward with that. Swim park is scheduled to open Memorial Day weekend. We got lifeguards hired and trained. And thank you, Monique and David Box. They did a good job on that. It's kind of interesting me watching them do that because that's kind of what I used to do. But they did a great job. The corporate reach out I reported on last board meeting where we sent over 200 brochures to corporations through San Antonio all the way down to Del Rio. We're going to start the next part of that. You know, we sent the brochures out. Starting next week, we're going to start making phone calls and kind of like have a mini call center to try to start bringing some of those people in. So I just wanted to do a quick report on that. We're still moving forward. The Baylor, I sent an email out this week to community council, and I believe the whole board was attached. So we're trying to get the Baylor finalized and finished. We did find out what's going to cost for electrical. We got that moving forward. So that process is happening. I want to talk a little bit about the flags, our flags on the property. You know, Mr. Hahn has done an amazing job of sending me exactly what, how flags are supposed to be taken care of and the treatment of them. And I know how important it is. You know, my brother served in the military, and I'm committed to making sure our flags are always in good shape. So what we did, we purchased an extra flag for all our flags. So now when one gets wore out, we can simply replace it. The other thing we're doing is during bad weather like now, the real big flag on the par 3 golf course has been replaced by a smaller flag. That's owing because, well, if you look at your phone and the weather, it says it's supposed to be lightning every day for the next who knows how long. But once we get through that process, we'll put the big flag up back, and that will stay there. The smaller flags around the property that the fort controls, those are being lowered at night and put back up in the morning. One, it extends the life of the flag, and two, I think it's more respectful. So we are working through that. And again, if we go through some growing pains, please let me know, and I'm sure Mr. Hahn will, and we'll make sure that we're, you know, keeping those things where they need to be. And I thank you, Mr. Hahn, for your help on that. We're working with the Historical Society on a new map for the facility, okay? And this map is going to include everything. It's going to have the birding trails. It's going to have all our historic buildings. It's going to be something that where someone can look at one map and know everything that they can go and see on the fort. It's almost done. They've done an amazing job with it, and I want to thank them for that. All right, last thing, and then I'll give back the microphone. I want to announce beginning this Monday, and every Monday after the board meeting at 10 a.m., we're going to hold something, we're calling it a Java with John. So basically what it is, it's going to be in the boardroom. We're going to have some coffee, very informal, no agenda, but any member that wants to come and talk about whatever they want to talk about, I'll be sitting right here, and we can just discuss things going on in the fort. And you know, it's kind of hard for members to speak in the board meetings, so this will be an opportunity where we can just come in and talk about any questions on the P&L, direction that I'm trying to lead us, anything like that. You know, with Java with John, Monday at 10 a.m. If anyone wants to come, they're welcome to come.
Wait, every Monday?
Every Monday after the board meeting.
After board
Following the board meeting, yeah. So I would be this Monday, and then after the next board meeting, the following Monday at 10 a.m. So 10 a.m. Yeah. And that's all I got. Thank you. Sorry for taking so much time today.
It was worth it. We have the committee reports, architectural committee.
Yeah, we had 11.
Can you hear him?
Can you hear me? Yeah. Okay. We had 11 applications for permits. 10 were approved because they were in order. 1 was tabled for lack of information. We sent 1 letter to a person who built without a permit. Both of these problems were rectified later. It's important that an applicant either attend the meeting or send a representative, because there are always questions. And if we can't get the questions answered, we'll have to table it for the next meeting. So that's an important point that we should try to stress. Thank you.
Thank you, Glenn. Golf committee? Do we have somebody?
Me. I always try to get somebody else, but there you are.
Debbie Isaacs, who's acting chairman during the summer when Deborah Jo Tischler goes back up to stormy, cold, frosty Wisconsin.
Mentioned cool in the summer.
Was unable to be here today because she's out of town. Just briefly, we did hold, there was a quorum. We did hold a meeting on this past Wednesday. We discussed a letter that John received from Benchcraft, which is offering us their services. They provide lots of different things to golf courses, ball washers, scorecards, all this type of thing. They do the advertising for us, and we get all of this free. But we've just received it, and we passed on to John that we'd like to meet with the gentleman to learn more about it. It might be very beneficial to the golf course. It might not help at all. We won't know until we talk to him. Other than that, we discussed the condition of the golf course as we do every year. It's looking great. They're doing a really nice job out there, trying to keep up with the rain, keeping it mowed. But we did come up with some suggestions. We are going to have a Memorial Day tournament. It's a 3-man scramble. We are going to make it a specific fundraiser. We haven't decided exactly on the project yet, but it's open to all and anyone who want to participate. It'll be a scramble, and we'll have all of the normal awards, longest drive, closest to the pin, mulligans for all of us, so forth. And we're going to add a new thing that's wear red, white, and blue, and you'll get a ticket for a cash drawing. For all those golfers, we on the June 18th, they're going to start spraying weed killer on the fairways and on the cart paths, and once they spread the herbicide, they're going to close the fairway for 1 day at least to make sure that there's no chemical exposure to the golfers. That's to try and get rid of some of the broadleaf out there and some of the pigweed. And we're also working on tournaments for the 4th of July and Labor Day. And let's see, in the month of May so far, we've had 108 rounds of golf. Going back last month in April, we had 1,057 rounds. In March, 1,108 rounds. And these, we're keeping track of golf course members, Fort Clark members, guests, students, gift certificates, and tournaments in the military. So we're trying to track exactly who's coming to the golf course, who's spending the money here, and where we need to advertise to get more people from those various classifications. And our rounds are staying fairly steady, and actually, considering a lot of people go home in April and May, we're actually doing pretty well so far these last couple of months. Okay.
Thank you. Preservation Committee?
The Preservation Committee, people on the board, if they look at the fire station.
I can't hear you.
The Preservation Committee let a contractor have the fire station windows fixed, and if you're driving around the fire station or drive past, you can see that the windows are being fixed. The project was a little bit more detailed than what the contractor thought, but he's going to get the job done. Once we get it done, we'll turn the building over to John so he can do what he wants with it. The other contract we're looking to lease and should be let next week by Wednesday or Thursday is the front of Seminole Hall. After that, I would like to put on the agenda the Adult Center to get the outside of that painted like the Post Theater, and then the commissary building, and we'll have to do some extensive research to find out how much that's going to cost us. The sides of and the windows in the back of Seminole Hall will be another project. Other than that, that's all I have to report.
Thank you, Garland. Community Council?
I'm going to combine community council and recycling and just do it all as at once.
Why not?
Okay, thank you. Community council has met in April. I was not there, in May, I should say. I was not there, but since the president has decamped for New Mexico for the summer, the only thing I have to report on that I know of has to do with additional fundings to finish the electrical work for the Baylor. And there's been a lot of discussion about it, and that's going to have to come up at our June meeting, but right now, Community Council does not have more funding that they can give recycling for the Baylor project. As far as recycling, good news. Once again, we have a letter of commendation from CTRA. It's the 6th consecutive year in a row for our recycling efforts. They've sent us a little award sheet every year, and we continue to hold the distinction of having one of the cleanest, best-run recycling centers in Texas. Yay! I think we should all be proud of that. Shout out for the work that they do. The total recycled amount of material in the state of Texas last year was 5,800 tons. That's a lot of stuff that didn't go in a landfill. So it's definitely saving our environment and saving a lot of money. We hope to keep that good work going. Bill, you can tell better than I because you've been there more recently. How close are we to another pickup?
I think we have about 18 to 20 galos ready to go.
Okay.
I don't know what this past Thursday and today's gonna bring into it. I'll know Tuesday.
The other thing that has come up with recycling is Allison Watkinson has asked that we allow the 5th grade to tour the recycling center on the 26th of May. I need to get with her and find out exactly when, because I will be in San Antonio that day.
What are you trying to tell me?
I plan to see if Pamela Lanson, since she's an ex-school teacher, will do it. How about that, Bill? Otherwise, you're it. No.
They surely want to see how the
Otherwise,
forklift is run and so forth.
I wasn't going to do that tomorrow. You see, 3 of the board members sitting up there volunteer every cycle.
3 of them. So they.
And the other two are welcome.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. Be happy to sign them up, and anybody else in this room that's willing to do so. And that is basically, that's money.
The 5,800 tons, is that all of Texas or just?
That's all of Texas.
Okay, thank you.
Did you have a number for us?
I don't have a number.
Oh, I thought that,
The sheet, the award sheet, unfortunately, I grabbed this and didn't bring that, so I
Sorry.
can't tell you what it is exactly.
didn't mean to put you on the spot.
Yeah, well, in Texas, the amount of landfill fees that they feel have been saved, and let's face it, Fort Clark has the highest tipping fee in their landfill in the state, pretty much. Our landfill tipping fee is approximately, it's a little over $100 a ton, or it has been historically.
Explain tipping fee.
Very expensive. It generally runs about $30 to $40 a ton. And like I say,
I mean, what's the tipping
Tipping
fee?
fee means what it costs to collect the material and put it in a landfill per ton. There's definitely an economy of scale in a big city that lowers their costs. But they're estimating over $200,000 in landfill savings.
From us?
No, not really.
God help us when we get that much.
That landfill would have to expand by a factor of about 1,000 to deal with that. That's all I have to report.
He was just suggesting we need something for expired drugs, but I don't know if that's something we can do. But it'd be,
They come around once in a, doesn't
yeah.
DEA come around once in a while? I've seen them, they come and they sit over there at the old Sonic Lodge.
If we
They
could,
bring expired drugs over to them, but I don't know when they come.
yeah, if we could get something like that going, that would be really important, because I know there are lots of things on the shelves that shouldn't be. We'll look into it.
Every time the flag goes at half-mast, people.
Something that I should mention, we will have another electronics recycling event in the fall.
Great.
Please don't bring any electronics to recycling until we open up the collection period in the fall. We don't have the room to store them there.
And it's really ugly where we don't have the room.
Yes. Well, you'll have to keep them there until we probably will not have a recycling pickup, an electronics pickup, until after the winter Texans, which would be December, January. Because we need to give them time to find everything that doesn't work and get it over to us. We also can do, if you wish, battery pickups, not car batteries. I'm talking about lithium batteries and camera batteries, all of the small batteries. And probably ink cartridges for computers.
But not now.
Not right. That was a warning. That was not a question, that was a warning. Sorry.
All right. RV, I think we can boil that down to just what was in April, and are we just reading Diana's report? If you would, I know she has a lot filled in there, but
Just, play with me. Just April, we had 622 RVs, which is about 16% capacity. There were 572 members at 15%, 46 non-members. She lists special events for May, Bible study on Wednesdays at 10, Stitch on Wednesdays and Fridays at 1, and this is all in the day room. They're going to try to include events for the summer, but it's depends how many people they have in there. The RV grounds are looking wonderful, and thanks to Prayers for Rain and Jim Holloway, the permanent attachment to the lawnmower seat. She adds LOL. She knows that the numbers are down. From the past information she found, this is normal. She knows personally that the RV park was almost full last summer because she was assistant manager, but also 3 summers ago there weren't very many there, just a family. On a positive note, it's giving them time to do other projects at the park. That's from Diana Stewart and Jim Holloway.
As I understand it, recreation is dormant right now, so I won't call for a report unless somebody wants. Apparently not. Do we have a report from the airport, Sam? Oh, not Sam.
Good morning. I'm Ray Goodson. I'm the chairman of the advisory committee for the airport. Sam typically does this. He enjoys it quite a bit. He's out of town.
You're not required to do the jokes.
Okay. I can't do them as well as him, that's for sure. Just a quick summary of what's been going on. We're definitely into mowing season, and we're on our 4th mowing, if you can believe it, with all the rain we've had. So it's going to be a busy mowing season for us. But it's looking very nice. If you have the chance to come out, give me a buzz, Sam or Mike, and we'll take you out. Unfortunately, we're behind a lock, so the majority of the members, are not allowed in. They're certainly welcome. Just call any of us, and we'll give you the little nickel tour. We submitted a airport summary last board meeting, and the question now is, have you had a chance to review it, and do you have a problem if we hang something similar, probably a much more abbreviated version of that on the web page?
I think that can be done.
Okay, very good. Who should I talk to? Just work through John? Okay. The other thing is that we'd like to become a bit more formal and add our meeting minutes. And I understand there's all the committee members submit a report, and we'd like to be included on that. So I just need to know who to talk to and get our.
Well, then the other committees are in arrears.
Oh, are they? Oh, I'm sorry.
We don't typically accept a report unless there's something.
This is the report we usually get?
Yes.
Okay.
The oral report is what we usually get.
Gotcha.
Unless there's something that, like last month, that
Okay.
you had, that you wanted specifically to have us look at.
Okay, very good.
But I do appreciate all the work you've done. I do also appreciate you mentioning that it is open to members. It's behind the lock because of all the expensive planes and so forth out there. And it is, it's important that we keep those, but it is open to the membership.
And sort of adding to that is one of the items I wanted to bring up. And of course, we're working through these ideas. I'll get John and present what we're talking about. And there's 2 things really. One is some signs to, designate that this is Fort Clark Springs Airport, maybe at the entrance, in keeping with all the other signs around, either the gray and yellow or the brown and yellow, whatever is appropriate. And internal to the airport, maybe some signs that would indicate some of the dangers for the people that aren't that familiar with airplanes. Once we do get people that are coming in, we would intend to escort people primarily and allow them a chance to see what's there, etc. So I'd like to start thinking about some signs, and again, we're willing to pick up most of the tab on that. Certainly the official one announcing the airport or identifying the airport may be something that the board can provide. And secondly, I'm trying to develop an area where the folks on golf carts and that sort of thing could actually come in to the perimeter of the airport and have an observation area. I know a lot of people have asked just to come in, and being as how the gate is locked, we would provide a little alcove, for lack of a better word, that would be fenced off so that people wouldn't inadvertently get out in front of the airplanes or runway or something. So try to keep safety in mind. We'll do something like that. But again, I want to show you specifically where I'm talking about.
You just start inviting me to your meetings all the time.
Okay. Let's see, is there anything else? I think I covered it. So that was the last item that I had.
Thank you, Ray. Declaration Compliance Committee.
Good morning. The Declaration Compliance Committee will deliver its final report to the board during the 13 weeks of our in-depth examination of the declaration. We held open meetings, produced accurate minutes, and we kept the board appraised of our progress and our findings and recommendations. Since you've received your report, there's been about 3 or 4 housekeeping changes discovered by Mr. Sullivan that we will send an updated version of the exhibit to. There's also a problem with the land breakdown that we're trying to work through. Our report was produced at our own expense. The committee appointed to bring governing documents in line with current laws delivers this report. From January 26, 2015 until April 30th, 2015, the committee undertook a comprehensive and in-depth examination of the current Declaration of Protective Restrictions in order to determine its agreement and compliance with Texas law. The committee established the following facts bearing on the question. Texas law is superior to the dedicatory instruments of Fort Clark Springs Association. Recorded plats are superior to the dedicatory instruments of Fort Clark Springs Association. The original Declaration of Protective Restrictions was framed and recorded in 1971. The fundamental intent of the original declaration was to protect and benefit the developer, North American Towns of Texas. In 1971, the declaration was in complete agreement and compliance with Texas law. A further amended declaration was recorded on June the 18th, or correction, the declaration was revised in 1999 by a majority of members voting. A further amended declaration was recorded on June the 18th, 2011. Part 5, paragraph 6Q3, which has to do with the impound fund, was amended March 31st, 2012 by a majority of members voting. There is no evidence, we could find no evidence, any deliberate effort has ever been made to ensure the declaration maintained agreement and compliance with Texas law. The committee concludes from these facts the Declaration of Protective Restrictions is no longer in agreement or compliance with Texas law. The committee recommends the revised Declaration of Protective Restrictions at Exhibit A be placed before a vote of the membership. Committee renders the following observations in support of this recommendation. Provisions of the declaration in major conflict with Texas law. Board meetings, meeting notices, categories of membership, elections and voting, and enforcement actions. There's also clear violation of the existing requirement to maintain 1,600 acres of club grounds. Current Part 3 Statement of Intent is no longer relevant. The committee applied the following methodology to cure conflicts and violations. Replacement of existing language with the precise language found in Texas law. substantive removal of wordy, confusing, or outdated language, renumbering of the parts of the new declaration. We also provided justification for revisions throughout the new declaration, not to be included in the recorded instrument. The committee also made miscellaneous changes to correct spelling, grammar, tense, and other cosmetic maintenance edits of the document. Each director has been provided with a signed copy of our report. Committee members: Ann G. Barron, ex officio member; myself, Carolyn Oldblack, Daniel J. Sullivan, and Garland W. Young. The board at this time should make a motion to receive the report.
Bill, I noticed.
It is working. Good when you put it down.
That don't matter. You have in here that what a member is, record holder of title, to be able to vote on property issues.
Mm-hmm.
What about a charter member?
Do you mind?
Who opted not to have a lot? The charter membership,
Mm-hmm.
can they vote?
That's an issue. That's an unresolved issue of members who have never selected a lot. And we couldn't solve it. It's you know, the basis of our recommendation is Texas law. Mr. Sullivan is the expert on how ownership of property is the fundamental requirement for membership.
Well, technically, it doesn't say like a charter member on 1/8,000 everything that would make him a record holder of title, just having the membership?
May I please interrupt?
Yeah.
The reason I want to interrupt is there are other questions like this. I think that we can do as Mr. Hahn would like us to do and vote to accept or make a motion to accept. But what I would like, I'd like to ask if the committee is willing to meet with the board and any members who want to in a kind of a workshop situation where we can ask the questions like these and get some response, because there are many questions.
Well, I believe I just said that the board should make a motion to receive the report. Receiving the report is a benign
I'm not asking.
motion.
I'm not asking for you to run the meeting, please. I'm asking if the committee is willing to meet with the board.
Absolutely.
And you're speaking for all of the members.
Yes.
Thank you.
They're all here. Anybody, one of the committee members object to that?
Is there a deadline for when we can do it in May, if that affects anybody's? Yeah.
Any on the availability of the committee members?
I think that would be wonderful if we could meet together and discuss it. I'd
That would-
also like to just clarify what Mr. Hahn was trying to do was sort of save you, because technically, under Robert's Rules of Order, if you make a motion to accept this, you cannot change it. That's why the word receive is important.
I'm not accepting it, I understand. Thank
We're
you.
just trying to be nice.
Well, okay.
I will move that the board agree to receive this from the committee for review and possible further meetings with the committees. Yes, I will move that we receive this.
Second.
It's been moved by Sandy and seconded by Bill that we receive this report. All in favor?
Madam, may I please? I'd like to thank the committee, because the way in which this was presented to us, in this very nice packet, it's quite clear what items they are recommending and what items are mandatory by current state law. And they've done a nice job presenting it to us. And it took a lot of work, and I think we should thank them because it was a difficult and probably at times very tedious task.
Bill B would like to add something to that.
I think we should reimburse this committee the expenses for this document. They said they did have their own pocket. They should have.
Well, Bill's not, I don't think he's listening. Are you listening, Bill? Did you hear what B said?
Yeah.
Do you have a,
No, but I can come up with it.
all right? I think we can handle that. Are we ready to vote?
You already did.
Did I miss it? It's not the first thing I've missed this week. Thank you. No, that I know. All right. Does it matter? Is anybody taking off in June? So that we need to have it before the end of May? Our meeting
I will be gone
in June?
next week. I will be back the whole week before the board meeting in June.
Okay.
And will be available to attend.
Would you mind if we held this without you?
No, absolutely not.
Okay. Because I'd really like to get the questions answered. I mean, like, they're involved questions, but I think since you've been involved all the way through, you probably know the answers.
I understand it thoroughly. Mr. Hahn and Mr. Sullivan were just, it was amazing that we had those people to lead us through that. And I am grateful that I was able to sit there and absorb all of this.
All right, thank you. We're going to go ahead and have it with Ann, without her permission, I'll get it, with her permission. All right. We'll come up with a date that all the board can meet and ask the committee if that's okay with them, all right? We're finally there, Philip. The gravel for the RV park. Do you have some, did you go to sleep? I don't blame you.
Y'all should have the deal.
We do.
Okay, do y'all have questions?
Well, that's what I'm asking.
Good question.
How many spots?
Well, the two that you have that are significantly higher than the third one, that's for the entire lot. The south side of the RV park and the east side of it, so roughly 47 spots. And that's coming up 6 inches of crushed base material with the possibility of a chip seal over the top of it. The third one that comes from TW Equipment, what he's proposing is that y'all just allow him to come in and do maybe the south 5, put in 1 load, maybe 2 loads each stall, roll it, grade it, roll it, compress it, do everything you can, and then come out and look at it as a board and see if that's sufficient for y'all without a chip seal on it, just a base. And that base has been used throughout this fort in 38, 2 in 38, one over here on Colony Row. It doesn't wash out once it's compressed, and I mean, eventually it will, but when it's done right, it lasts quite a while. And then later on, if money permits, if you want to throw a chip seal on it, it's as easy as regrading, maybe putting another layer on it, and then going forward with that.
That's limestone, right?
It's a limestone base mixed with a little bit of caliche in it, and it compacts real well, being that the limestone is mixed in with it.
So, this is, using that, the one.
Yes.
Who's gonna do 5 stalls.
Yes.
If we project that to 47 stalls,
Uh-huh.
using their figures, that would give us a rough idea
Rough
for the whole
idea.
project.
Rough idea, correct. And that's hauling in the material, dumping it, working it with equipment, so labor and delivery. That's all included in that, what is it, 2,500 or whatever for the back 5.
Right.
And if y'all don't like it, if it doesn't work and it doesn't look like it's gonna work for y'all, there's really no loss other than $2,500. But that's that much less material we'll have to bring in the next time, so.
Sounds good to me.
I kinda like that.
John, have you given this some thought?
I think we should do the 5 and see how we like it and then move forward. 'Cause the other 2 bids are a lot higher. And I'd say if this works for us, we have a chance to review it.
Right.
And see,
I
the
agree.
other, I'm sorry, the other 2 companies that put in a proposal, they won't break it up. They won't just do they're gonna come in and do it all or nothing because they're not local. So, and TW Equipment's local, they're just right here. So they're the only, that's why they say that they would break it up, just to let y'all know.
Has there 5 stalls been selected or just?
The back 5? No, the back 5, because if you do the the east side of it and you do 5 out of the, I don't know, however many.
25 of them over there. something.
Yeah, so, I mean, you don't kind of want to break that up. If you can do the whole back slot, which will raise that whole back area up, that's the reason they decided to do that back out. Now, the concern with the water, the way the water drains into 38, that's whole nother issue that we've been kind of going back and forth with, and maintenance can do a lot of the clearing, and he said once they already have their equipment out there, he didn't mind running a blade through it and diverting the water into the canal that's actually dug back there that's been overgrown for years to keep that water from going into 38 and flooding 38 out.
You would actually do that as well?
Correct. Maintenance will do the clearing. We'll do all the tree trimming and pulling all that stuff out. Back behind the RV, there's a culvert that has been dug out, but it's been overgrown for, I didn't even know it was back there. I've never ventured back that far. But by cutting just a little bit of a burn through with a blade on it, on a dozer or something, or even a maintainer, it'll divert that water that runs downhill and dumps right into 38. It'll take it right into that culvert and move it on to where it's supposed to go.
Right, and Charles, you live over there. Does this help you at all?
Which sites are you talking about?
I'm sorry, sir?
Which sites are you talking about? You're talking
At
about
the
the
RV?
south side,
Yes, sir.
but there are more than 5 sites over there.
Whatever that back side is what they agreed on. We thought it was 5. We kind of just threw it together. It was 5. I was over at the office with him when we were discussing it. He'd been out there and looked at it. Of course, they'll come out and throw a transit on it and survey all that and see where it needs to go. But that south side is where they're supposed to
I think
start.
it's We agree something needs to be done.
Absolutely.
I think there's 8
Absolutely.
back there, aren't there? I think it's 8.
Okay. We'll work it.
Just a question from someone who lives in Unit 38. This project will include digging that culvert, because otherwise I'm late for the property again.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
I want lakefront property. Sometimes I get it on the golf course. I don't want it there.
Another question. You said something about not putting a coating on the top of this caliche and
Right.
limestone there.
Right.
You know, every time with that stuff down, I don't care what you do with it, every time you get a little bit of water, a little
Mhm.
rain, you walk on it, these people are gonna track that into their RVs, and I don't think they're gonna be very happy campers out there.
Well,
If they don't put this rock covering over the top of it.
Correct. As it is now, you're tracking mud in it anyways.
I understand that, but
The
it's
chip.
worse with the other.
Correct. The chip seal, let's just say for the entire thing, it's estimated around what, 29,000 for a chip seal on top of that. On top of every one. It hadn't gotten broke down on the 5 or 6, 8, whatever it is on the back. It hadn't got broke down for that.
Yeah.
You want,
I'm sorry.
I'm waiting for everybody
I think
to
you
finish.
better,
Somebody say something, we're
you
playing.
better answer the
You're
board
wanting to
question.
put this down there and try it and see how it works before we jump into the whole process.
Correct.
And that's what I agree with.
I know exactly what you're saying. My parents do RVing and all that. And, I mean, they bring that indoor, outdoor, and they roll it out. And I don't expect everybody to do that. But again, it all comes down to the money to do it.
But it's a mess if you don't.
No, I agree.
It's a mess.
That'd be great, yeah.
RVers won't be happy.
Well, what we can probably do is buy a huge roll of that indoor, outdoor and sell it.
Do we need to make a motion?
I don't.
Well, number one, we do not have, we have not included anything like 79 or 68 or thousand in the budget this year for this type of thing. If the RV park is to be included in the budget for next year or any year soon, that needs to be done ahead of time. Right now, it seems to me that Ann's motion, which she's about to make, would be a good idea. Go ahead, Ann.
Well, I move that we accept this bid of the TW Equipment Company for the $2,500 total to do what Philip has just lined out for us and see how that works. It's always better to go a little bit before you jump into something and do the whole thing at one. Well, anyway, I made my motion to accept it.
This is 2,500, right? Do we have a second?
I will second.
Discussion?
The only question would be, I don't know if this thing's working or not, the only question I would have, whether it's actually 5 or, 5 or 8, because it's gonna change
It is going to change the amount, and I will find that out by Monday morning, and I'll bring it to John, and he can email the rest of y'all.
Okay, I guess something, in my mind, something's better than nothing right now. And part of the problem is what happens in 38, as has been pointed out. And if we can get that ditch dug out, and if we can get something done right now and plan for the future, which I think is extremely important, then I think we should do it. That's my discussion here.
If I can add, I'm now finally fully staffed. I'm not working with only 5 guys, and all my equipment is working with the $1,500 that we've had. Duct tape, baling wire works great. So everything is working. I'm fully staffed. So now we'll be able to do the projects like I can send 2 guys out with a skid steer and dig that thing out and not worry about not being able to get the grass cut or things fixed. So again, now that we're fully staffed, things will start moving along a lot better.
This proposal says 5 separate stones of caliche / gravel.
Yes.
What's the gravel part? The rock?
Oh.
Gravel?
There's the material that he's used is out in, I mean, if y'all want to look at it, it's in Unit 38 on the backside where that, I think it's where that gazebo is. That was all brought up. And then also, let's see, 2 houses down from Chris Fowler. It's like right kind of behind, or right behind the backyard is next to the Palisado building. There's a yard back there that was also brought up with the same material. I'm not sure exactly what the mix is. That's their deal. If you want, I can get you a sample.
I know caliche, it's not very good.
I agree.
You step in it, it goes down, it's always sticking to you. Where limestone doesn't.
Right. When you go with limestone, you're going with a different price.
Right.
If you want, I mean, if you want to hold off and we can get different prices, we can do that. This is what they've used. This is what they use out at the ranch. This is what they use to do the work in here in town and on the fort, and they haven't had an issue with it.
You get what you pay for.
That's true. That's true.
If you want to make this a world-class RV park, I'm not so sure caliche's the way to go.
Okay. If you do decide, if later on you decided to use to do a chip seal on top of it, caliche should be a fine base material. Because now you have a chip seal on top that caps it.
Yeah, if you're gonna use that, chip seal, you would have to build it up to where the water
Correct.
would drain off anyway, so this
Correct.
is just sort of a base,
Correct.
for that, and I agree that it would have to be covered with either some of the chip limestone or the chip seal that you're speaking of.
Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Any other discussion?
What are we voting on, to accept this bid?
And go, yes. Do you want to repeat the motion?
It's to accept the bid from TW Equipment as submitted.
Would it be possible to have a meeting with Mr. Moore?
That is,
You'll have to vote this down at the,
he would be glad to meet with the board and anybody that wanted to visit with him. He already told me that.
If you're not ready, then I'll just withdraw my motion.
Sure.
When will this construction start?
It's not scheduled.
It's not, yeah, there's not a schedule. If you're more comfortable with talking to Tim, he'd be glad to talk to you.
Is there an example of one like this around here somewhere?
Sure. And he would love to show y'all.
Y'all for it?
Yes, sir.
I would like to say this. Several years ago, we had a turnaround at the end of Redbud. It was nothing but a mud hole. My husband went to the maintenance and asked for something to be done. And Mr. Walker said, well, I don't have anything but caliche. I don't have any gravel. We said that would be fine, just anything that would build it up so the water that runs off our street would drain out of this turnaround area. People were even getting stuck in it. They brought, I don't know how many loads, but enough to build it up to that level. And that was probably 15 years ago. And it is still hard to, even after all this rain right here, anybody can turn around on it without cutting it down. Now, I agree that it can be still a little bit sticky, maybe, and we would want to eventually cover it, but it has done the job that we needed out there. It is full of gravel. And that's what I think they're listing here as caliche gravel. That's caliche with gravel in it. I may be wrong. I can't absolutely tell you exactly what it is, but it did the job with our problem.
Almost sounds like limestone is still there.
Well, it just hardens up and it seals over, and then most of the water just runs off.
Yes, ma'am.
Almost sounds like crazy. Anyway, vote to a vote. I'll vote to.
do you want Ann to withdraw her motion?
Anybody want to see an example of it? I guess not. Call the question.
You're leaving the motion in effect.
And he's just called the question. All in favor? Its motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, Phil.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you for coming in on your garbage day.
Oh, she's setting up, this is good. All right, but the next one is,
Rio Grande, do they need a break too? Okay. We're going to take a break while Rio Grande sets up.
Hey!
Are you having a good
I
That's what I thought when I looked at the
I talked to him. Or you're not wearing
She rented some.
I'm going to call the meeting back together.
Now, I only spent $100 on the guy, Johnny Cage, who entertained us.
These four Rio Grande people have sat through all of our meeting, and we appreciate that. But now it's their turn.
Yeah, good morning. My name is Larry Powell. I'm the Director of Engineering for Rio Grande Electric Cooperative. Amber Castilla is our project coordinator for this project and very instrumental in putting this presentation together and to coordinating our efforts to get to this point. And we appreciate the opportunity to make this presentation about this project, but we just wanted to make the board aware of some issues with us being able to move forward with this project. And so this presentation is to show what we're up against here, show you what our plans are for basically Unit 3 as far as the underground electrical distribution, and to lay out our plans there, and so everybody's aware of what we need to do there. Okay, like I said, this presentation has to do with Unit 3, just to give everybody a sense of where we are here.
RV park.
Where's the unit? No, it's not.
Where's the
RV?
Not RV park, mobile home park.
Right.
Find out unit 3 on the map, please.
It's the yellow.
The yellow, okay, where is it?
Go ahead, Amber. Yeah, and Unit 3 is bounded by Travis Road and Scales and partially by Payne Road. So this is our,
Recycle center.
okay. So this is the perimeter of the subdivision in Unit 3 that we're concerned with. Okay, and the situation is the electrical system in Unit 3 was installed in around 1974. And it's an underground type installation, and the cables in there were direct buried, which means they're not put in conduit, they're direct buried into the soil and cannot be extracted. And over the, since 1974, those cables deteriorate, and when that happens, you end up having faults and outages occur which affect the electric service in there. So it's almost been 40 years since it was installed, so we're at the point where we've had some outages, we've had issues in there, and we're going to have to replace all of the electrical distribution system in there to correct the problem. But one of the issues in there is there's what we call various encroachments into the original electric line right-of-way that's either hindered or even blocked Rio Grande's access to the equipment. In other words, the lines themselves, the transformers, and even the meters. So the result of all this is we have electrical outages occurring usually after a rain. We'll have part of the cable will fault, and then the members connected to that circuit will be out of power. And so the problems with the encroachments into the right-of-way cause us to be delayed sometimes in being able to get to the facilities, or it hinders our efforts to restore power. These are just some examples of photos taken over the years just to show you what I mean by the encroachments. Like in this case, we have a transformer that's been fenced in, and I believe the original subdivision was probably just empty when this was installed, so when all the cables and the transformers and the meters were installed, there probably wasn't even any mobile homes in there yet. But now, after 40 years, trees have grown up, other utilities have come in, people have built gardens around the equipment. Some cases the meters are inside fences where we can't even really get in there anymore. So these are just some examples. Here's a transformer, and I guess in this case part of the house was added onto, and so if our electric lines are running like this, well, we can't go in there and dig those up easily to replace them where they are today. The other thing that's occurred is a lot of propane gas tanks have been installed, and of course the gas lines running from those tanks to the homes across where our power lines were run back in 1974. And as you can see, just getting access to some of these equipment, some of our infrastructure is physically blocked. In this case here, this is on the west side of Unit 3. And when this was installed behind this house, I guess this is Unit 7 on this side, I believe Payne Road used to extend back behind there. Well, now that road doesn't exist anymore, and that's actually somebody else's property, so a certain portion of Unit 3 is now landlocked, so we have no real legal way to get in from the west side. So what our proposed solution is overall to correct the situation is to first of all to extend and reroute and replace some of the existing overhead lines that are around Unit 3, and that'll facilitate the new underground line installations and also correct some National Electric Safety Code clearance issues that have occurred in this 40 years. In other words, we have power lines where someone's built a structure underneath and it's the clearance above it is not appropriate. So we'll take action to correct those matters as part of this project. But the main focus of this upgrade is to install a new PVC conduit duct system throughout Unit 3 and put the new electric underground cables inside the conduit, but those have to be put into a trench about 42 inches deep. So the problem is trying to follow the existing original 1974 right-of-way is not going to be possible in all cases. So our order of precedent would be to route the new conduit system parallel to any existing underground lines if we can. If that's possible, that's what we would try to do. Alternatively, if we can't do that, it looks like we would need to move into I guess what's called the green belt areas that FCSA owns and run those conduit system or trenches through those areas. As I mentioned, the west side of Unit 3 is basically landlocked in part of it. We can't legally even get in there because the road that used to exist apparently doesn't legally exist anymore. So consequently, and I'll show you a diagram here shortly, consequently we're going to have to run part of this electrical installation down Warbonnet Road. And we'll also need to cross in two places on Broken Arrow Road to make this work. And there may be some cases where we have to run the power lines between lots down the lot line. Anyway, with this in place, the idea would be to de-energize the existing underground system that's almost 40 years old and abandon that conductor in place because there's no way to extract it because it's not in conduit. And then as part of this, we would retire the existing pad-mounted transformers, and I'll show you examples of these. And a lot of those have been put on fiberglass pads that are now degraded due to ultraviolet effects on fiberglass, and so those have collapsed over the last 40 years. So those will be replaced with new pad mount transformers and installed on concrete pads. And those we'll try to co-locate or locate those as close as we can to the existing facilities if it's possible. And then the other thing we would intend to do is replace the existing trough type meters, as we call them, with more modern direct buried meter pedestals that stand up higher above ground. And I'll show you examples of those. And also, as part of this project, Rio Grande would interface all the members that are connected. We would interface the new meters to their existing electrical wiring. Okay, this is just showing in Unit 3. This is the yellow is where our existing lines or right-of-way was installed. Normally, Rio Grande Electric has 30-foot wide easements throughout our whole system for overhead lines. In this case, for Fort Clark Springs, we have a blanket easement. Normally in subdivisions, the width of that is 10 to 15 feet. But this is just a depiction of the line routes as they exist today. This is a diagram of the same same image there, but this is showing the proposed line routes in order to traverse the obstacles I just laid out there. And as you can see over here on War Bonnet, we would need to actually come in this way and go down War Bonnet and back in, because this area here is now landlocked. There's no road to get in here anymore. And as I showed you in the photos, there's things have been built or grown up here to where we can't easily get in from this direction. So we walked through this concept with Fort Clark operations and also the Fort Clark mud, and we walked through this whole route and gotten everybody's input. This is not preferable to do, but it looks like that's what we're faced with just due to the legal constraints that's come into play. So this depiction here shows in yellow is the existing route of our underground lines, and the purple is our proposed routing of the lines in conjunction with that. This doesn't show, I think, two segments that need to come in here, as the other diagram showed. Anyway, this is what we're proposing, what we wanted to get concurrence from Fort Clark Springs Association. This is acceptable. Let's go to the next slide. This is just some examples of what we would intend to do as far as the construction. Like I said, this would require a trenching to be done as we've laid out. And like I said, it's typically a 42-inch deep trench, about a foot wide, and the idea is to put the conduit in. This is in another subdivision we've done in Eagle Pass, but as you can see, we've had to go under water lines, under drainage ducts. So there's a lot of other utility coordination that has to happen when you put in an electric line. There's a order of precedent as far as the depths. And so all that kind of thing has to be coordinated with the other utilities in Unit 3, such as the telecom, water, any gas, or fiber optic, and those will be marked before we do any construction, so we know where those facilities are. But this is just an example of how that's typically installed. And the purpose of the conduit, again, is instead of direct buried, instead of laying the cable in the dirt bare, you put it in conduit, so in 35 years from now, when that degrades, you just pull new wire in and put new wire in its place. You don't have to do any more digging. Unfortunately, in Unit 3 in 1974, that was the typical technology, was to direct bury the cables. Yes, sir. Anyway, this is just an example of the conduits with the conductors, cables running there, just to give you an idea what I'm talking about. This is an example of the existing pad mount type transformer that I mentioned. As you can see, the fiberglass pad had severe UV degradation. Ultraviolet rays have hit that and caused it to sink and collapse. So what we're proposing is to put new pad mount transformers, which are oil filled on concrete pads instead, which will last a long time. As far as the metering, this is the trough type meters that are out there now. We've had some issues with these in the past, but our intent would be to replace these with our standard, which is for underground type subdivisions, which is a direct buried meter pedestal that looks like this. In some cases, you'd have two that are back to back like this. So just as far as looking ahead to construction planning coordination, we wanted to begin initial property owner coordination next month, meaning just to make sure that the property owners affected in a certain segment are aware of our plans there. We do have subcontractors lined up to do the trenching and the other work that's required. We've got materials that will be incoming for this project. We've already done the preliminary line staking or layout in the subdivision and had the other utilities mark their facilities just to give us an idea of where those facilities are so we can design or finalize our design for the underground. And as I mentioned, we've coordinated with Fort Clark Mud on this whole project. So before we actually can start digging, we actually have to follow a protocol to notify this entity, and they coordinate getting all the utilities located officially before there's any digging. That way our contractors know exactly where the other utilities are. And then, of course, as part of this, there will need to be traffic control because we will need to cut through some of the asphalt streets to some degree, but our intent is to not block traffic completely, but to try to minimize that and use whatever equipment we have to help facilitate keeping traffic moving in those areas. And our intent is to break this project up into 2 phases and also to various segments. We can go to the next slide there. Where we intend to start would be what we call phase 1, which is the white part here on the east side of Unit 3. The reason for that is because this is where we have the most number of faults currently. And so this is really the area of concern. Phase 2 is going to be the west side of Unit 3. And while this is going on, that'll actually give us time to finalize this concept over here and make sure, if there's a possibility we could gain access to some of this area from Unit 7, then maybe we could alter this design and not have to go down War Bonnet. But that's to be determined. But at least at this point, we have a concept to do that in a phase 2 on War Bonnet there. So anyway, our expected results from all this improvement work would be to have completely new electrical distribution equipment installed, which will result in improved electrical service and reliability to our members, and to restore accessibility to Rio Grande's facilities in there. In other words, make the equipment accessible in all cases, because when there is a problem, our line crews need to be able to get to the equipment and do the work that they need to perform to restore service. And right now, that is definitely can be hindered in some areas. As we're doing all this, we definitely want to try to minimize any aesthetic impact, and hopefully the result of all this improvement is going to result in a better looking electrical system in Unit 3. And just to make the point, the cost of this is no cost to the association. This is basically paid for by Rio Grande members as just part of a normal upgrade that we have to do for underground type systems like this. 30 to 35 years is typically when you have to replace such equipment. So Unit 3 is just already on that schedule. So at this point, is there any questions or comments that? Yes, ma'am.
One minor was,
Okay.
digging down on the east side of Unit 3, I feel pretty sure that's where the Army buried some stuff. I found stuff in there.
Unexploded ordnance, maybe, or?
What I'm saying though is, if y'all dig 3.5 foot down and find artifacts along the old cavalry, I think you should turn them into Fort Clark Springs Association or the museum. Should you come across some of this stuff.
Okay. Well, I think that's a really good point, because before we actually have a crew on site that's going to be digging, there's going to be multiple subcontractors out there doing various types of work. But before we do any of that, we would definitely want to establish a protocol of working on Fort Clark Springs, and things like this would be addressed, and maybe that's something we need to put in writing. Any of the contractors that are working out there, if you encounter any kind of artifacts, then those need to be handed over. So if there's other situations or other concerns like that, I think that would be part of what we would address with our personnel and our contractors before the work begins. So those expectations are made known up front.
If you find any gold, you just give it to me.
I would like to ask and to suggest that you try to do a little PR with these members in there first, so that they fully understand what's going on, why you're doing it, and maybe it would eliminate any controversy. I don't know how you look, maybe between.
Yes, ma'am. Normally, when we have a project that affects a member's property or member's service, we send out letters in advance and notify them in writing that, once we get the plan put together, we notify them in writing, when personnel would be out there working around their property. So you're right. Yeah, that's important to.
You might ask for a meeting of them if they're interested. I don't know what their comments or questions would be, but if you before you started this thing, it could solve a lot of problems if they knew exactly what you were doing and why, and they understood.
Yeah, and that's Amber. If you can back up to the other slide there where it shows the. Our intent here is to do this in segments, manageable segments, so we don't go in there and just dig a bunch of trenches and leave them open for a month.
That's the things they need. That's the things that they need to know.
Yes, ma'am. So our intent is to start at this end and work, maybe in this segment here, and then work with these property owners and get in and get the digging done and get the concrete work done, and then move on to the next segment. And as part of that, coordinate with the affected property owners. So it won't affect everybody all at once, but it'll be in managed segments.
Well, that sounds good, but will you all be the ones that be responsible for doing that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, they're our members, so we need to coordinate with them.
Members of both of them.
Yes, ma'am.
How long does this project take once you start? Usually.
Well, given all these rains, that could also be a hindrance. We need the rain, but unfortunately, this type of work is not done well in muddy conditions. So, yeah, it's easier digging, but yeah, we'll just have to play that by ear. But more than likely, we're talking about several months of work. And it could be that we get in there and find unforeseen conditions. They dig into a grave or something like that. I don't know what would happen if that were to happen. I don't know if there's any burials out there. I know there's a cemetery right in here, or it used to be a cemetery, right? In fact, that's one of the features of this change here is this line here is overhead. This is overhead, and as I mentioned, there's some clearance issues with those, so we're going to be rerouting this overhead line across that, I guess it's a dog park now that used to be a cemetery. And I believe this area is owned by the FCSA, from what we understand from the appraisal district. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I was wondering, you're real close to the recycle center that Fort Clark uses, and we hope to be putting in a baler that requires some electrical work.
Yes, ma'am.
Does any of this proposal have anything to do with that?
I don't think so. I understand we've been contacted about, I think, three-phase service here coming off this line, and that's a totally separate project.
So it won't affect it at all?
It shouldn't. I believe this power will be coming from this overhead line here. So that's a totally separate project.
The other question I had, how about internet service for those members that are gonna be, I mean, is this gonna mess up internet service for the people that live there when you're digging and doing all this with wires?
If you can go to the slide that shows the 811. To answer your question, that's why Texas has a one call or an 811 service. And so the idea is you submit a plan to this entity about where you intend to dig, and they notify any other utilities that have facilities in that area.
Really?
They give them, like, I don't know what the time frame is, let's say a week or two, to come out and locate where the internet lines or the cables would be for communications. So the idea there is know where those are before we dig so we don't cut through them. So the intent is not to interrupt any service out there of any type. But if it's located and they start digging and it does happen to be where they locate by painting a mark on the ground, it could be that a line could be dug into and cause a disruption in communication service. But we hope to minimize that happening or eliminate that from happening by following this protocol.
Katie, did you get your question?
It was just a quick question. You had said that you were going to replace the transformers onto more solid concrete pads.
Yes, ma'am.
From the pictures, I could see that several of those were encumbered by people having built around them or regard. Are you going to be moving them totally out to where they're accessible to RGE, so they're not on private property, but on right-of-ways?
That's the general intent, is to relocate those and make them more accessible. In order to do that, as you saw in some of the photos, we're just going to have to coordinate with the property owners to actually take down fences and may have to cut some shrubbery out or disrupt gardens, but unfortunately that's what happens when the right-of-way gets encroached upon.
Might be a good time to reestablish property lines. That's a good point.
Yes.
Yes.
But I think in general, Rio Grande already has a blanket easement for electric facilities on Fort Clark Springs. So I guess what that means is wherever we end up building the new facilities would be where our new easement is.
Any other questions?
Thank you so much. I
Okay.
think Rio Grande is one of the best that's coming out. Of course, I'm a member, so I can give you that. But Rio Grande is one of the best at coming out and describing what they're going to do like this and making members feel good about it. Thank you.
And we appreciate the board's time, ma'am. Thank you.
I'm wondering if we can take Martha out of, I mean, she's down further and it's going to take a while. Are you good, or you want us to get to you, please? Oh, she's not enjoying it. She's having, I think she's reading in there. Okay, go ahead, John.
You can see the light when it's on the side.
Okay, we're down to number 13, and out of 19, I'll bet you're getting excited about all this. On 13, we have a recommendation for resolution for title changes for both John and Monique. First of all, Monique's title has never really matched what she does for the board, so I'm going to start with her, and I'm recommending executive secretary for Monique's title. Now I'll give you the bombshell. I'd like to recommend executive director for John's title. I'm going to give my spiel first, and everybody else can join in. First of all, John brings something to the position that we haven't had before, and I think executive director speaks more to what he is doing and is capable of doing, and gives him a little more clout when he's out talking to other entities. So I'd rather not make the motion, but I'm suggesting John be executive director and Monique be executive secretary. Does somebody want to make a motion? He hasn't made it in specifics, like I said.
Is that?
I can also change the title of our Director of Operations to Executive Director. And from Monique's title of
Executive Secretary.
to Executive Secretary.
Yes.
I'm not sure what she's called that. That's the problem.
That's the problem, is that there's no real
Well, we give her a position of Executive
secretary.
Secretary.
And now do we have a second?
All at the same pay.
Yeah. We're not giving you a raise, no.
I second the motion.
Who seconded?
Ann did.
Okay, thank you, Ann. Do we have more discussion?
Question, yes, just the paperwork that we have here, is this basically says, yeah, existing office manager / human resource agent, that is going to just be changed to executive secretary?
Cover both.
Okay, okay.
Cover whatever John.
So anything that's in here that says office manager will have to be rewritten to say executive secretary?
I don't really.
Excuse me. I don't really think office manager describes what.
No, I
Monique-
agree. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying.
I think whatever John wants Monique to do is to be covered in his well, you're not supposed to say that. Okay. Oh, I think I've actually gotten a motion for both of them together. I'm pleased with that, but maybe there are questions.
For one thing, we're going to make a lot of changes in the bylaws to insert executive director where they say DO.
Right.
But we're going to be redoing the bylaws, so maybe we make sure we get all that done.
Can you hear B.O. right?
So there will be a lot of changes need to be made in our bylaws to replace Director of Operations with Executive Director. Right. So the bylaws are going to have to be changed as soon as we get this declaration approved. So we might just hold off until we rewrite the bylaws and insert the proper titles in there.
You mean hold off on making the change?
No, we can,
Okay.
we can go ahead with the
We
resolution.
also need a resolution for John's change, but I don't think we need one for Monique's change. So, once again, do you want to split the motions?
Probably a good idea.
That's fine with my
It's gonna
side.
make me do all the work here. Well, actually, Monique is doing all the work because that's why we're changing her title.
What you get paid for.
Yeah, well, there you go. Okay. This would be an amendment to the motion, and you have made the motion, so you can either accept the amendment or change your motion.
Let's just reword it.
There are two now.
And change or amend the original motion to read that John Hodge's position will be called Executive Director. And this should be changed in all the bylaws and everything else we have.
Okay.
That's what we're voting on. In one sense, I will have a second
Right. Now,
motion.
that was seconded by
And
Ann,
I accept it.
and Ann accepts the change. So we've now made more explanation about why we haven't, the next, never mind. Okay, I would think. All right. We have a motion, and we would like to, any more discussion? Okay. All in favor? It's unanimous. Apparently, there is some, we like that. And we will put the resolution together so we get it right at the courthouse, all right? If necessary. I don't know what's necessary there. Again, that's why we're changing Monique's. All right, the second motion. Do we have somebody to make that? Or do you want to take credit for it?
Well, just, I will then move that we change Monique's job title to Executive Secretary, is that correct?
All right, and that's in relation to the board. Wherever else you want added to that is that under the executive directors. All right?
It actually, I should phrase it that I move to change Monique Jensen's job title from Office Manager / Human Resources Agent to Executive Secretary.
Do we have a second? Okay. We have a second. Any discussion?
Second.
Oh, no.
Bill, second.
Thank you.
No discussion.
No discussion.
All in favor? Moving to number 14. Now we're at Bill.
All right, thank you. So the billboards, basically what I propose that we do, and the 4 billboards out in front of our property, there's actually 5, but there's 2 on this side, 2 on the other side that I want to get redone. 2 of them are the ones that were done last year and they're hard to read, and I mean, I think they need to be changed. But anyways, to do all 4, it costs $856, something like that. That's to buy the actual vinyl, and then we could put them up ourselves. So that's one. And then the other one, the other thing I would like to get done as well, is the billboard coming from Uvalde down this way. If you're coming down on the left, the great big one that used to say the Ram dealership used to have. That one's available. It's $350 a month is what it would cost. It's a year contract, but all the setup and that's included into the contract. So if the board will approve those getting done, we can hop at that and get that billboard and get the ones out front. I did put some designs in there. I've been working with the Historical Society coming up with designs for the billboards. We need something that's going to get people's attention as they're coming. But what I'd recommend to the board is we put it out to the membership for comment for 10, 15 days. Let people make comments on what they think, because I want to make sure we're not missing anything. If someone has a better idea of something, let's put it for comment. Then we can come back and finalize it and then get it done. But I would like the approval to move forward with securing that billboard and move forward with getting the ones outside.
Question.
Yes, sir.
As you're coming from Del Rio, where the Ram Country has their sign, would it not be soon enough just to put it on our 400 acres? Put a sign, and won't be paying monthly rent?
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. The only one I'm saying we do a monthly rent on is the one coming from Uvalde this way, that great big one. We don't have to do that. The board doesn't want to, but I think it's an opportunity to secure that. And when I got here, they were all taken, and now they're open. And it's just an opportunity to hop on and grab it. And I'd recommend that we do that. But those and reading the demographics, 3,000 people pass those billboards daily, and that one's about, I'm guessing it's about 20 miles away. So it gives someone a chance to see what it is and say, hey, our next stop, we need to get gas anywhere, we need a lodging or whatever we need. It gives them a chance to see it and possibly decide maybe they'll stop up for Fort Clark. That's the whole idea behind it.
Maybe we have a member that may have ranch land on the highway, and we could negotiate with them a lesser fee.
I'm all for that, but from what I understand, and I'm not a lawyer, but from what I understand, it has to be a billboard that's already existing. You're not allowed to put any new ones up. That's just what I understand.
I think that's a new state law.
And when I was driving back from California here, and I ran to Fort Stockton, and I started seeing Fort Stockton, and all these things they have, I started thinking to myself, oh, wow, that's a fort, and they have all these things. And I'm like, wait a second, I'm running a fort that has all these things. Why do I have these things? And I think it's very important that we call it, on these billboards, Fort Clark. People know what a fort is. If we say Fort Clark, Fort Clark Springs, we're going to start confusing people. So I really think we say Fort Clark, and as you can see in the examples, and I do want to put it out for member comment, but I think it's wise to do that.
Or you could say historic.
Historic Fort Clark is awesome. That's exactly what it says, actually.
Yeah, that billboard, I think the one that he's talking about is the one that used to be at the old Border Patrol checkpoint by the railroad tracks.
And
That's
it's
the
huge. You
location.
can't miss it. I mean, you're driving by, you're going to see it. And the idea behind those, and I know the membership can't see it, but the idea behind those is to have different pictures on the different billboards. So as you're driving by, you start seeing all these wonderful things that we have. And there was a billboard that was submitted to the board a while ago from the planning committee when it existed that had the little icons all around. So it's kind of copying that billboard, to be honest, just making some updates to it. I know we have a membership out there who would be willing to help us with some of this too. So that's kind of the ideas behind it.
How are you going to get it out to the members for comment?
Well, I'd recommend I could bring it to the first Java John on Monday. I can also put it at the front to where anyone that wants to come take a look at it, they can make comments on it, make notes, and then we could take all those notes. And again, I want members to have feedback on it, but I also want to make sure I'm not missing anything that, We can email it out too. If you like an email copy, we can do
There's a
that.
lot of people that don't have it.
So we'll have it at Java John. We can email it out. We'll have a copy at the front. I mean, there's always members can see it.
Various ways, and if you don't get email or someone doesn't get email, have them contact. How did you spell it?
Jab.
And since you look at the idea behind it is someone driving by, they need to be able to see something quickly and understand what they're looking at. So.
You have a phone number and email address on there.
It's actually a great idea. We should have FortClarkSprings.com. FortClark.com, definitely. Should be on there. Absolutely. Yeah, that's a good point. See, that's exactly what I want to put it out for member input.
You don't
Yeah, well, and then the problem with the billboards out there now, whatever the signs say, you can't even read them because the bullet points look like they go into the sign. So when you're driving by, it's really hard to tell, you know? So.
I think all those icons on the side are too busy too.
Well, that's exactly why I think we could we put out the member input. I personally like them, but you know, I think we get the input from the members and we decide what we do from there.
The least amount of information that gets them.
Is it more expensive to be on in color than it is in sepia or black and white?
No, not really. The quote that I got, there was no difference. The problem is if you do too much color, I'm worried about over time it fading. So I think we do some color, but yeah.
The ones close to Fort Clark, the color battle.
Right.
Yeah, these are actually set up 20 miles on Highway 90. The colored ones are half a mile on the right, half a mile on the left, and then the other gray tone, sepia tone, are next right and next left. So they're closer to the fort where you can actually see it.
It's a great idea. How many people have gone through the Carolinas and get all pumped up to see Pedro south of the border just because you do see those billboard signs ahead?
And again, I believe this is something that, from what I understand, the planning committee brought to the board, I mean, way before I got years ago, but I think it's something we look at doing.
We did it before, I think
We did it before, but I think we now know what was wrong before. Let's fix it and move on. Do you need anything from us, or are you just informing us?
Well, technically it's under the amount I'm allowed to spend, but I
Right.
prefer that the board just approve it.
Approve what, the concept?
No,
The amount of money you're
we'll come
going
back
to
with the
spend?
concept once we get member input, but the amount, the 800 and, what is it?
It's $863.56.
That's a one-time fee for the ones out front, and then the one coming from Uvalde this way, that's $350 a month. So that one's technically a contract, which I need board approval to do.
That's $4,100 a year.
All right, so, once again, I need a, I'm sorry, can we have quiet, please? Can we have a motion for this then?
Okay, I will move that we, for the initial, cost of the billboards, not including the monthly, $100 monthly charge. This is from Easy Order Banners. I move that we accept the $863.56 so that we can order these and start the process of replacing the ones that we have.
Why not including the three?
Well, because one is a contract item and one isn't, and I think it should be a separate motion.
Okay, is there a second for this motion?
Second.
Okay, Ann and Bill both. I don't know how you separate them. You're executive secretary, now you decide. Okay. All right. Is there any more discussion on this then? All in favor? Now, the second motion. In case you've forgotten, because I'm getting tired too. This would be allowing John to enter into a contract for the $350 a month for the one coming out of Uvalde.
Can I ask a question before motion? What billboard company is this? 'Cause I can't remember.
Sign ad, I think. It's the ones, the blue and white signs that have them. They have a whole bunch. We can get a whole bunch if we want, but I just want the one. I think I have it in the office. I believe it's Sign Ad.
Sign Ad Outdoor Advertising.
Yeah, Sign Ad Outdoor Advertising. It's in, I think it's in your packet.
It's
Yeah.
the second one.
Yep.
I'm sorry, that's my fault. I missed that. I equated it with the other.
We've already had this, we've already been doing this already.
No.
No. This is new, so this would be an extra expense.
One of the things that make me want to do it is that a lot of people are coming through Brackettville, past Fort Clark, and really don't know we're here. If you give them a big notice way out there, you're going to get people beginning to check for more signs. I don't think $350 is too much, since we can't put out any new ones. Texas law says.
If we can get one put up cheaper, I'm all for it.
I know one thing, they will negotiate. They will negotiate.
Okay.
Is a year the minimum that you do?
Yeah, because they do the setup, and there's no additional charge for setup or any of that. You get when you want, and it goes up. So if you want me to negotiate and try to get it down, I'll do that. I think I will.
Theirs is a lighted sign, right, out there?
I don't think that one
I think
is.
it has a light on
It's a great big one. I don't think that one is.
The only thing that lights that up is your headlights.
Is it a tall one,
It's a really long one. It's like 12 by 40, I think.
close to the ground?
It's fairly close to the ground. The first time I drove to the fort from that side, I remember seeing it, and I saw the Ram dealership on it, and I'm like, we need that billboard, because it's right there. I mean, it's my opinion, but
I think it's worth quite a bit. Again, people going all the way out to Amistad with their boats. I'm not sure why anymore, but
Oh, it's up. I think so.
that's what they're doing. So I think they don't know we're here, and we should tell them loudly.
Actually, $4,100 a year is fairly inexpensive for advertising.
maybe we won't be the best kept secret in Texas anymore.
Wouldn't that be nice?
They can make for a good sign. I've got a secret. You know what it is.
Very good.
Someone want to make a motion, yes or no on this, or do we want to let it?
I make a motion that we accept, or let John accept or work out a contract with them with the maximum of $350 a month.
A month?
Maximum.
A month?
Yes, a month.
Okay, don't want you to.
I'll second the motion.
Do we have any more discussion?
No. We have funds to cover it. I don't think we would be hurting that.
No, I don't think so. Besides that, we're bringing in money because those people are coming in the door. There you go. Okay. Any more discussion? All in favor? Motion is unanimous. Excuse me, acceptance, I don't know what that is. You know what I mean. Moving along. Dickman Hall budget, John.
Okay, so basically, I've been in contact with TABC.
Excuse me, I need to ask the audience again, please. Understand that this is a board meeting. If you really need to talk to each other, I appreciate you waiting till we fall asleep or something. Thank you.
So I've been in contact with TABC. Our liquor license is still good. We, in fact, just renewed it. So there's no holdup there for Dickman Hall. And this is to get the bar open in Dickman Hall, blocking off the rest of the restaurant. And what I'm going to ask for permission to do from the board is go raise the money that we need to do to get it, and try to raise the money through private donations. I put it together a budget. It's going to cost about $40,000 to open the bar. I've been working with a gentleman that TABC recommended I work with that runs a bar in Del Rio, who actually does it correctly, does it legally, and is very profitable. I've actually worked there a couple nights as a bar back, learning the bar business myself. And the whole point behind this is when we raise this money to open the bar, I would like to restrict all the money that we make in profits to go right back into Dick Mahal, to put in a restricted fund so we could start working on getting Dick Mahal open. And as we do it, like I said, we're going to block off the rest of the restaurant. But as we raise money and we're able to do it, I want to start moving that wall back so folks can see it getting done. I want a donation box in there that says, help us preserve this historic building. I want to theme the bar to our military history. And I want to invite the base down. I want to make a big deal about it. It gives exposure. And, I think I can raise the money privately. The other thing is I've also reached out to a couple TV shows and I haven't heard back. One kind of told me no, but I'm still kind of hoping. I'm still sending things. One is Bar Rescue. And then there's another one I've reached out to try to get them to come in and do it for us. But so far that hasn't happened. So I just want permission so I can go raise this money, get the 40 grand, and start working on the bar. All the work to be done by our in-house staff. So that's what's keeping the cost down.
Like your excellent suggestion one time when I talked to you, individuals want to donate, they can get a little plaque with their name on it. It goes on one wall.
You didn't mention that as part of it.
Yeah, sorry, I forgot that part. So I was kind of, when we get into the fundraising, anyone that wants to donate, we're going to have tiles, and it's going to go either on one wall or around the whole bar. And, depending on how much you donate, that's how big your tile is, basically. So if someone wants to make a large donation, they could certainly do that. And I don't want to limit those amounts. This is something I did back at the mission days, and it worked really well for us doing stuff like that. So, and your name would be on that in Dick Mahal for the foreseeable future. So, anyways, that's what I would like to do.
Pretty cool. And what do you need from us?
I need permission to go fundraise for $40,000, and I need to be able to tell the people that donate that the money will be restricted to go back into Dick Mahal until Dick Mahal is open and the restaurant's open. A part of our strategic future, getting tour buses and getting people in here, we need Dick Mahal reopened. And I mentioned this before during my interview process when I was taken around the fort. When I walked into Dick Mahal, I was drawn to it. I was blown away, and we've got to get it reopened somehow. So.
Boy, if nothing else got you hired, that did.
I make a motion that we give John permission to go ahead with his fundraising on Dickman Hall.
I'll second that motion.
Is that sufficient? Do you need actual restriction in that motion, or?
No, I think as long as we all understand that, I actually would like it in there. I would like to be able to say the money will be restricted, the profits restricted.
Would you like to?
I'll amend it to say the money will be restricted to Dickman Hall.
For the future.
And in the future.
For the future construction. Or whatever.
Right. To give money restricted to Dickman Hall to get Dickman Hall eventually opened in total.
Okay. Now, do you have some sort of motion?
I have permit John Hodge to fundraise $40,000 to open the bar at Dickman Hall with an amendment of money restricted to open all proceeds.
Proceeds to go toward, there you go. I don't think if both the motion maker and the motion seconder are willing to make those changes, I don't think it has to be an amendment.
Yes.
So we're going to leave it as a full.
I try for Robert's rules, but it's not going anywhere.
Okay. Discussion. Yes, do we have some?
I thought we already had.
Well, I just want to point out, be careful when you start doing some remodeling, that you adhere to Texas Historical Commission, and the windows got to be just like they were, and work within those guidelines.
I'm going to try not to do anything on the outside. It's
We're
mostly
pretty
gonna be
much on the inside, so.
But as a preservationist, I consider myself one. yeah, I got that. I'll be very careful.
Any more discussion? All in favor? Opposed?
No, I'm not opposed. Sorry. I thought you were.
Okay, just slow on it.
I thought you hadn't seen my.
Thank you.
It was unanimous.
Guess what?
Martha, we're down to you.
Did you want to come say?
Excuse me.
I would really like her to.
Oh, okay, thank you.
I knew we had your letter, but I thought we had done so much on this last year that.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. Yes, we're here for the, well, I'm here, and with John's assistance, the 4th of July event on July 3rd and July the 4th. What we'd like to do on July 3rd is bring back movie night. We had that a few years back. We're doing this in conjunction with the Kitty County Frontier Christmas Committee. And so the last time we had a movie night was at the amphitheater. And we were requesting to use that as well, but I'm not sure if it's available. There's some work that needs to be done. If not, we were going to ask if we can have a movie night at the Butcher Block. Everything at the Butcher Block, which is a 4th of July event, but we would start with the movie night on Friday for the community. So I'm here to ask for approval, as it was last year, for use, at no charge to our committee, for this event, for this community event that'll benefit all the members of Fort Clark Springs, all the visitors, any prospective members that may see this event and be so excited about what we have here for the community, for our veterans, because it's for our veterans, we can't forget them. So that's why I'm here today, and I've been visiting with John. He's been so helpful, and I sent him an email, I sent a request, and he immediately contacted me, and I'm really excited about that, and I thank you, John, for that. And John has a few things to say.
So,
I did want to, you didn't mention the fireworks display. That's part of this, right?
Yes.
Okay.
For the use.
And now I'll let John talk.
Okay.
So, in reading, and I wasn't here last year's minutes, there was some issues we were worried about insurance, and I completely support having insurance for this event just because there's a lot of things that could happen. I talked to our insurance agent, and he told us in order to get a policy, we need to have a licensed technician set off the fireworks. And speaking to Randy from MUD, he does have a license through a friend of his that we could use, and he would be there for the event. So we can use that license, and now I'm going to contact our insurance agent and see what a policy would cost, and I could bring that to the board. I do recommend that we move forward with the event. I think it's a great event, and I think we should do it. But I do recommend that we have insurance for something like this.
I think we did pay for it last year. It was extremely expensive, but
Yes,
yeah.
we fell under the umbrella of Fort Clark Springs, and since it is being hosted here, I
The,
think it's more.
the umbrella was,
Yes, ma'am.
costs money last year.
Oh.
$3,500.
Yeah.
It
yeah.
was my understanding we didn't, but if we did, that's
Oh,
fine.
yes, we did.
Okay. Well, all right, that's fine. As long as I think we need to be covered.
And it was
really good.
expensive. If we have a licensed person, maybe it won't be as expensive this year.
Yeah, well,
But again, whatever it costs, it's worth it, I think.
I'll bring it to the board as soon as I get it.
Did you mention the problems with the amphitheater?
Yeah, the amphitheater unfortunately is going to be possible this year. There's no benches, there's no electricity. It's something that I want to get done because I actually want to do stuff out of there for next summer. But I think a movie night down at the Butcher Block, I support that. I don't have a problem with that. The board doesn't.
It'd be great, exciting. So the approval is for use of the Butcher Block on Friday night, July 3rd, for a movie night. And then Saturday, of course, a parade will begin in the city of Brackettville and then come into Fort Clark. So the use of the Butcher Block for the patriotic program. And then the 4-H Club will be, it's one of their biggest fundraisers to sell hamburgers. They'll be selling hamburgers. Then we also want to solicit vendors, so the rest of the afternoon into the evening to have food booths or any kind of booths that they have. So that's in conjunction again with the Kitty County Frontier Christmas Committee, and they will be in charge of the vendors. And Jan is here. Jan is here. She's part of that committee. And
Doesn't
also,
have enough to do.
so, and also the use of the chairs, tables and chairs that were used in the past. The podium, electricity for the speakers and for the vendors. And the veterans trailer, Bill Garcia drove the trailer last year so we can, the veterans can participate in the parade and ride in that float. And it's currently at the maintenance department, that trailer is. And then allow us to have a firework display. Of course, it usually takes about 30 minutes for fireworks, 30, 45 minutes. Now, we're asking permission if we can continue to play music there, and we can allow everyone to dance there on the slab until 12 or 12:30, if that's okay with y'all. Because as soon as the fireworks is over, we have so many people there and nowhere to go. Can we be allowed to stay there?
I always like to go home.
My only concern is if we have enough lighting. I don't know.
There is.
Okay.
Yes,
As long
sir.
as there's enough lighting, I'm fine.
The fireworks are already paid for. That's not something you're asking from us to.
The fireworks are, they're donated. All the
Okay.
money for the fireworks. We're not asking for any funds at all from Fort Clark Springs. Just allowing us to use the venue, free use for this patriotic program.
Well,
And I was listening to your reports on recreation and its doormat, and I was thinking it may just fall, maybe should fall under the recreation department. And we would in turn assist and help, but because it's an event for Fort Clark
I think
Springs.
maybe we're going to lose money on the event. We don't want any more of that. No,
But all our fireworks, the funds for that are donated.
Yes, I
They wouldn't
understand.
cost you anything.
To be serious now, I would like us to make it clear that we are in favor of this and that we want it every year unless there is some unusual problem that crops up, and instead of waiting till
Yes, ma'am.
May of each year, that we start working throughout the year with the board's approval, that we are not going to need you to come every year
I
except
appreciate that. Yes, that
except
never
to tell us what is going on and to remind the members that we want their involvement too. Because if we didn't have those golf carts out there all decorated up with flags,
Yes.
what else would we do? So, and we have so many veterans on the fort that this indeed celebrates them. So I guess what I want from the board then is some kind of approval for going forward from this year as well as next.
It's basically saying that this would just become an annual Fort Clark
Yes, unless we see some kind
activity
of problem.
Yes,
in conjunction
sponsored
with
Yes, sir.
Frontier Christmas and
Yes, and we'll all help.
Bracketville or whoever else is involved in
Yeah,
this
same
thing.
committee will help as well, every year.
And John will make sure of that.
Yes, he will.
And Martha will
And I'll make
make
sure
sure.
of that, yes.
I think we'll have to address the fireworks issue every year, however, because insurance values may change, license availability may change, and that may be something that we do have to address every year.
What do you recommend?
We may have to address it, but first it comes to John and he explains to us what we have to address. Rather than make this something we have to redo every year, I'd like to start with the idea that we're going to do it. All right? Does anybody have a problem with that?
No,
Okay.
that was my only caveat, is that may be something that we have to address every year.
We could budget it in our budget.
Okay.
Do we need
If you made the motion, I'll second it. How's that?
I did not make it. I was sort of hoping you would.
Oh. Well, I'll make a motion to do what Myrna said. No, to make the Fort Clark 4th of July Festival an annual event
Okay.
and coordinated with the Kinney County Frontier Christmas, 4-H, and I don't know what committee.
Veterans or veterans?
Veterans, you know, the whole.
Just make it a Fort Clark Bracketville coordination.
Cooperative event.
And this will be a long weekend. The 3rd falls on a Friday, of course, and the 4th on Saturday. This is the
Oh,
greatest
I'll be
weekend
darned.
to celebrate it.
I'll second the
We have so
motion.
many visitors.
So we have a second over there.
I got it.
Any more discussion? No more discussion? All in favor?
Thank you very
It's
much.
unanimous again. Thank you, Martha.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for waiting.
Thank you, John. I really appreciate it. And again, I'd like to commend Mr. Hodge for assisting us, and he's contacts us, or me, as soon as I submitted my request. And he's going out of his way to make it work. And he's very positive, and this is my chance to talk about him. And I know he has a new title, but he started working on this as soon as he got hired. He's got a positive outlook, he's excited, he's got a lot of great ideas, and it makes all of us excited. I'm sure I can speak for everyone. And I know we can all go visit with him at any time if we have an issue, we have a suggestion, and I do want to help work with you with the Dickman Hall and the Duck Inn, recreation, whatever. And
You
thank
should be
you.
thanking us, 'cause we hired him.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Oh, dear. That's all the further we are. I know. Number 17 is the Architectural Committee adding 2 new members. Is there someone from the committee that was going to do this, or?
I'm from the committee, I didn't know I was supposed to do it.
Well, the Architectural Committee did this to us before. They have given us names, but they've told us nothing about these people. I assume they're members.
Yes.
But I personally know at least one of them. But my question really was, what recommends other than they signed up?
Well, we didn't have anything to do with them volunteering. So I don't know anything about any of them, except I do know one man on there, David Crow. I know him, and I know he's had a lot of experience in building. He's even managed a building store. So I know that he's very well qualified. I don't know about the rest of them.
Anyone know the other two?
What's the
Well,
name?
you're asking for 2 members and you're giving us 3 names. Does the architectural committee, I wondered.
Every May, we have to be reapproved as a committee, and this is part of it.
Okay.
And at the last board meeting, you approved that we could add 2 members. So
Right.
what we are asking now is that you approve our 5 members.
One of the existing members is not going to renew her commitment. That's why it's going to 3, why there's 3 names, right.
And which one is it? Is it you, Phyllis?
No, Phyllis is on, Glenn are on, staying. Aileen Reed is the one who did not renew her contract, if you will. So that's why there were 3 names, to bring it up to.
We still need to have all 5 of us accepted.
What are the other 3 names?
Yeah, you can read all the names.
The names of the people who are being recommended is Ramon Rodriguez, Chuck Taravella, and Dave Crow. And that will add to the 2 that exist, which is Glenn and Phyllis, and the 2 employees that the fort has on the committee, Gabby and Chris. So it'll be a total of 7 members on the Architect Committee instead of 5.
And do I also understand that we have a requirement for a resolution on this? Is that?
Well, the
An amendment, I guess, needs to be made to the current policy resolution.
Yeah, they sent a
Okay.
letter, the
All
architect
right,
committee
yeah,
sent
they
us a
have
letter
they do have.
explaining
that.
what they want, a
Right.
little more detail. But we have
Okay.
to have a new policy resolution. Right.
We did approve the movement to 7 last time. So I guess I'm asking if what, I don't know what you want from us this time, I'm sorry.
We just need to have the new board approve the 7 members, you know, the two employees, one, Gabby Telemontes and Chris Abbott, Glenn White, Phyllis Giblin, and the 3 names that are on that volunteer.
Okay.
We just need to have those approved.
I make the motion that we approve the members as,
All right.
as
A second.
presented to us to form the agricultural committee.
Thank you, Ann.
I will second Ann's motion.
Any more discussion? All in favor? It's unanimous.
Thank you.
We will work on, okay. All right. We have a nepotism resolution. Bill and Sandy?
Yeah, I thought that we should relook at the nepotism rule that has to do basically with board members, in that it states that any relative of a board member cannot be an employee of Fort Clark. And I think that that is not something that we have to keep working on, because you get some good people who could be working here who can't because of their relationship to board members. And in the future, it would eliminate, it may give people who consider running for the board, but they have a spouse working here that they cannot or don't want to, because the employee would have to be terminated. And it doesn't necessarily mean a wife, it could be brother, sister, son, daughters, whatever the, there's a blood, what is that word? Yeah, that by blood or by marriage, there's a form that's followed.
You know, I could help you out here real quick. The present nepotism law says that you cannot serve as a director if you have someone working here. That's no longer legal. Can't
Okay.
be enforced. According to the new property code Texas law, that nepotism business is out the window. You don't have to worry about it. When you bring your bylaws in compliance, you'll be rid of it.
Right.
Okay.
We already got rid of it when we changed,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
the election.
I didn't mean to.
No, that's fine. I understand what you said. I appreciate that. And the only
He
thing,
was stuttering a little,
yeah,
thank you, Dan.
yeah. The only thing is that we may be, if we may not even be able to do this, be a little more specific on who cannot be a relative of an employee in terms of positions.
209 specifically states that there can be no restrictions placed on directors, board members. And no restrictions in 209 mean no restrictions. The only restriction placed on board member, a director, is after they take office, if they're convicted of felony or moral turpitude, then they are immediately dismissed from office. That's I always have to look up turpitude, it isn't a word that I grew up with. But anyway, that's the only restriction on a director.
Yes.
So Dan is correct. We already need to be operating under the law, regardless of what our bylaws say.
Our bylaws don't have it in it anymore. I'm going to give my opinion. You're going to get it no matter what happens. In my opinion, the only person that we should not be related to is John. Or whoever is in that position.
Well, yeah.
Because from there, everyone reports to him eventually. So I find it difficult to change anything about the law, except we would not want whoever's in that position to be related to a board member. Beyond that, if that person can't control whatever happens underneath, then we don't need that person anymore.
That's actually taken care of in the form that, should there be a conflict, say he was my nephew, I would have to recuse myself from any decisions that would affect him. So that's already taken care of in there, that conflict of interest can still exist, in which case a director with a conflict would have to remove him or herself from decisions involving that conflict. So that's already addressed.
Yeah, involving that person, that individual, or that any decision related to that individual, yes. Again, because of state law, that's really all I think we can regulate. And the only thing it makes sense to regulate in an institution this size.
Well, then, if that's the case, then we don't really have to do a resolution, because the law has already said that what we can do. The only thing would be if we want a resolution stating that the executive director cannot be related to a board member or vice versa. And if you can't do that, then we don't need anything. We just follow the law.
I don't, yeah. Go ahead.
Well, I think maybe we should just drop that whole concept of nepotism law that we have or have had. And I could be a director, I could hire, not I hire, but the fort could hire some to work at security. I almost didn't run for the board because I had a son working part-time there, 1 day a week. He quit his job so I could run. And that's kind of silly.
So the law's good law.
Yeah, but we can change it. I think we should. I know I won't throw in a personal name here. Sandy's for the teen center. She can't work there now as a paid employee. She pays the bill. So it just doesn't make sense that we didn't have such a rule.
Okay, I agree.
I don't have any dog in this fight. Neither does Ann, I think.
No, I don't have any.
One of us should make this motion then, if there needs to be one.
I don't think that with Mr. Sullivan's statements, I think we just need to drop the whole matter.
Okay, and cover it under Code of Ethics and Conflict of Interest,
Yes,
really?
yes,
Okay.
yes, it's there.
I agree with you. Anyone else think there needs to be a motion then?
There needs to be any action, it's already been
All right.
mandated by law.
So what we need to make clear, and I'm going to make this clear, is that if someone is employed by the fort under John or one of his people, then they can be related to a board member, and if there are any problems, then John should bring that to us. But I don't think there will be. Go ahead.
I would just make one statement. I would assume that any position that wouldn't come up, that the position would be advertised and not just appointed to the relative because of the
Absolutely. I mean, this is something, there would be a, never mind.
You go through the process, fill out an application, and it's processed through the Management and Human Resources.
Even if it were not somebody related to the board, if that were something that happened under John, that would be a serious breach of his employment. So, and I don't think this is something that he's not aware of. All right? Yes, they're all advertised.
Can we move on to number 19?
And you asked to have this on this is the resolution of opposition to the Coates mud, might as well. Go
Are
ahead.
you ready for that? Well, first of all, I'd like to say, I am not for selling water outside Kenny County before I even make the motion, and I'll tell you why. As an individual, I would pack petitions to save Kenny County's water. If anybody knows how valuable water is to us and to farmers, is because when we lived in Louisiana, and we have 55 inches of rain, by the time we got our crop planted in May, June, then the rain cut off. We were some of the first people that put in irrigation in Louisiana, so that's water is our lifeblood. But I am, after the resolution passed, we did this all in good faith because we're all concerned about our water. But then it came to our attention that we have a provision in our articles of certificates of incorporation that does not allow us to influence legislation. It's in Article 5, and I'll read it shortly, and I'm reading it because I don't want to miss one word, because one word is very important in these things. Article 5 says, no part of the activities of the corporation shall be carrying on propaganda, comma, or otherwise attempting to influence legislation, comma, or participating in, and there's other things, but I'm dealing with the one that says we are not to be attempting to influence legislation. And because of that statement in our laws, I do not think we can be in conflict of our articles of incorporation. However, I do want to make it clear that I do not agree with that. This was made by Mendelssohn in 1971. Today we have water problems. At that time there was no water problems. At that time there was no homeowners association law. We are now dealing with saving our water. We are dealing with homeowner provisions, and we might need to influence legislation. We might be influencing legislation for something as well as being opposed to it. So that is the purpose for my making the motion that we rescind the motion to oppose the Coates House Bill 1402 on the basis that we are in conflict with the Fort Clark Springs Association Certificate of Incorporation. And at that same time, I would like to also say that this is a reason that we're working hard to change these things that affect us today that we need to change. And so therefore I have made the motion.
Do we have a second? Second.
The motion's been made and seconded that we rescind our approval of the resolution to oppose, I can't remember the,
Rescind the resolution of opposition to House Bill 1402.
thank you, because I can't remember it. I think before we go on, I think that it needs to be said that the law was, or the whole thing was dropped before we ever got our resolution to Austin, because we were not, the hearings did not take place. Tully, you're back there. Do you want to comment?
The legislation is still possible to be passed, because it can be tacked on to another bill till the end of the session. And that legislation is still viable. Now, it's been thought since last week, this past Tuesday was the last day to file for any legislation to come out of the committee. Because it didn't come out of the committee this last Tuesday in the House, we feel like it's probably dead in the House. The Senate was Thursday. That was this past Thursday. It didn't come out of the Senate either. So we feel confident that it's not going to pass as normal legislation. But it could be tacked on to another bill. Okay? And so I'm disappointed in your recension of it.
We haven't voted on it yet.
No, I understand that. I understand it. That's okay, because I think you have there's conflicting statutes, and there's a conflict in all of your laws that says you can influence legislation and you cannot. So, but that's neither here nor there.
Telly, I guess this is pro bono, right? The Articles of Incorporation from 1971, when the Fort Clark Springs Association bought out Nat Mendelson, do we buy that Articles of Incorporation too? Are we bound by that? In your opinion?
Well, in the bylaw says that it's at its discretion, the Fort Clark Springs Association has the right to execute all papers relating to the creation, alteration, and dissolution of utility and improvement districts. You know, and all other districts in governmental and quasi-public entities. So, but listen, I respect what you've done. I don't agree with it, but I respect what you've done. It just, y'all have such a gem here that we can't afford to lose. It would hurt Kinney County, it would hurt you. But listen, we feel like the legislation is dead. It could be tacked on to another bill, but we think the alarm is over. We pray that it is.
We just, as a board, don't want to do anything illegal and then have to defend ourselves in court over it. And that's why I didn't know if this Article of Incorporation saying we can't influence legislation, or whatever the wording was, that we wouldn't be illegal for what we did.
I'll give you the lawyer's answer. I'd have to look at it and get back to you.
Before we speak to you, Dan, I'd rather the board get this among themselves, because this is their resolution, which they have to decide on.
Well, let Dan speak, though, please.
Well, I will after the board has finished. All right. I mean, we've got some opinions of our own. I appreciate Dan's, and I'll get to him. Okay.
I would like to have a little bit more time for discussion if the crowd would like to stay and hear about what I have researched over the past 2 weeks dealing with this thing.
All right. Here's also what some other members have brought to our attention, and that's Article 4.
Excuse me. I don't think at this time that deals with anything except what we're dealing with today. That's other things I don't really. I read that. I tried to make heads or tails of it, and I just couldn't see where it pinpointed to what we're about the thing that we're
Article
dealing with.
4C, to do any and everything necessary, suitable, and proper for the accomplishment of any of the purposes of the attainment of any of the objects or furtherance of any of the powers hereinto above set forth, either alone or in association with other corporations, firms, or individuals, and to do every act or acts, thing or things, incidental or pertinent to, or growing out of, or connected with the aforesaid objects or purposes, or any part of, or parts thereof, Lord, provided that same be not inconsistent with the laws under which this corporation is organized. That is not a law, Article 5, all right?
Yes, that's also, that's Article 4.
Yes.
But I would just like for the members, because I think they need to know this. I was not aware of all of this. That was the reason why I was asking for a rescinding of the motion, because there was so much that we were not aware of. I talked to, I read the papers, I saw the maps, and then I still had a question. So I was referred to Beth Ann Smith, who is a longtime member of the Kinney County Water Conservation, Groundwater Conservation Board. And she gave me some definite information. Kinney County is divided by a ridge. The eastern part of Kinney County is in the Edwards Aquifer. The western part is the Edwards Trinity Aquifer. All the water from the western part of Edwards Trinity Aquifer flows to the southwest. From the ridge eastward, we are in the Trinity Aquifer, and all our water flows toward the southeast. There are two definite aquifers on each side. I read the hydrologist report, I saw the map. It showed absolutely no connection between our aquifers on the east side and the aquifers on the west side of the ridge. There was a comment that there had been a trickle, and I said, well, how do we deal with this trickle that's supposed to be from one to the other? She said that their guidelines that they have to follow have to, it has to be repeatable. It has not been repeatable, this so-called trickle that went from one to the other. Now, I'm not an expert on that. I'm only giving you an opinion from someone who should know what they're speaking of. So therefore, I found no relationship between, from the data that she had or furnished me with, that we have dealt with something that is none of our affair on the east side of that ridge. Now, that's another point. But I know everybody is concerned, as I am, about our water. I don't want to see water. I also asked her one more question. I said, there's one thing I want to know. Can water be transported outside of Kinney County? She said, no, without a permit of the Water Conservation Board. So I felt comfortable with that would not happen. I do not want to hurt a group of people who are trying to establish a business in Kinney County that can improve our land values, their opportunity to make their living, but as they increase the value of that property, they also increase the value of Kinney County tax roll, tax assessment figures, and I don't want to be a part of that. I just think since the thing has been moved off the docket, it would just behoove us to go on and get ourselves out of it. That's my argument. Does anybody else have anything to say?
I think B had some things.
Oh, I forgot it.
Well, I have a question. You read part of Article 5, but you did finish it, and at the end of it, it says you cannot do propaganda, etc., against any political campaign on behalf of any candidate for public office.
Well, you're right about that.
So this has got nothing to do with a candidate for public office.
Well, but it is a separate statement. Mr. Sullivan, could you make a comment on that? What the wording says?
Dan, I was sort of hoping to keep you toward the end there, but Ann has asked you to make a statement.
I
So
just wanted to say that Ann has presented it quite well, and the part about political campaigns comes after or. And so what our articles of incorporation say, we shall not do this, or this, or this. And that doesn't mean that, well, if you decide not to do this, then it's okay to do this. So it's very clear. It's very clear, and we are a society of laws, rules, and regulations, and we're either going to live by them or we aren't. Now, I'm entirely against any of the water being sold, and I spent some hours studying the Texas Water Code and came to the conclusion it could be a 4-year major degree in college to even attempt to go through them all. They're so complicated and so extensive. In there, though, regarding Ann's comment about the permit to transport water, it refers to the district. The district issues those permits.
Yes.
And that raised kind of a red flag, because if the codes have a MUD, municipal utility district, they could possibly then issue their own permit to transport the water out. So I'm not for this legislation. I'm not against your resolution. I think your resolution was fine, wonderful, except it's not in compliance with our articles of incorporation. And that gives me a problem, nor is the petition that you're circulating at the front desk. They both violate that. And by the way, our articles of incorporation do trump the bylaws. So you can forget what the bylaws say as far as this issue goes. I would encourage everyone, and no one is prevented from going as an individual citizen and making their views and position known to their legislators, or even banding together as a group and do it. But when we do it as an association, we are violating our articles of incorporation. If that's your decision to do it, so be it. But I don't think it's a good one. I think it's kind of a slippery slope. And hopefully this whole issue will be dead now, based on the information that Tully provided us. But I don't think any of us are in favor of seeing any of the water sold. So we're not in disagreement over that.
I'd like to, there is information, there is science that provides that there is more than a trickle that comes from this aquifer that Beth Ann is referring to. But if you read the Delaware News Herald about 2 weeks ago, it had a very, very large article on water, and it said that both aquifers are very, very closely related. And living around here for 70 odd years, well, you see this thing dry up and you know where the water comes from. But the science, I mean, there are people that, like Beth Ann, who sits on our water district board, who wants to sell water. There are people like me who do not. But there is science that proves that it's related. So in all due respect, Ms. Barron, there is science that is produced by the water district itself through Dr. Hutchison. But I just wanted to let you know. Thank you.
Okay, well, the map that I saw issued no correlation to the west and east side. So this seems to be the problem.
Perhaps Tully would share his map with you.
Well, I'll look at it before we leave.
This is not a one-year study. It's not a 6-month study. It was for 6 years. Done by 7 years, done by the EAA, the Edwards Aquifer Authority. It wasn't done by anyone here. It was done by someone else, and they're very, very reputable. I'll be glad to provide the whole report to you.
Tully, when there's a trickle or a flow, is it always in one direction?
No, not necessarily.
I mean, like, if in that area on the west side of the county, they sold everything and was bone dry, would ours flow back to them?
Well, here's the thing. This last 7 years was dry, basically. Now we're in a wet time, and they do have an indication that there is water that comes from Pinto Valley to Fort Clark Springs, to the city of Brackettville. And so, I mean, that's the last 7 years, which most of it has been in the drought, but now we've got flow. There is, it would be, that's why these things are they're so hard to put your finger on, because water, it's not an applied science. You've got to study it and study it and study it.
Well, I don't know where this lends us to be. except I didn't want to even bring up the thing about the water question, unless it was necessary, because actually, our problem is our articles of incorporation do not allow us to influence legislation, and we don't want to be out on a limb with a lawsuit that we may be included in to deal with this.
I think Mr. Sullivan nailed it a while ago. It doesn't make any difference how you do it, but do it. That's the important thing here, is I appreciate your resolution. Everybody does. But if this comes up again, be prepared on some way to oppose it, because some people have their life savings in this place.
Well,
And so we have to protect that, but let's find a way to do it that's legal.
okay, then one other question of you.
Yes, ma'am.
Is there some way, of course, this is filed in the state. This is not our local filings. It's filed with the state of Texas, our articles of incorporation.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
But how could we, in a short period of time, or could we come with a petition to the court to ask that we be allowed to remove this because of its antiquity, that it no longer refers to us? Is there propositions of that kind that we could do? But I know to go to the membership, we'd probably be 2 years trying to get it removed. Is there any other way?
You're asking for legal opinion?
Well, I mean, that's what I'm saying. He is a lawyer, and he could.
But this is all pro bono.
I understand.
Mr. Sullivan has studied this probably more than I have.
Yes.
And,
well,
it must come before a vote of the membership to change.
All right.
But as one HOA experienced at a meeting once, the directors said we can do anything we want. And the attorney for them said, yes, you can, and I'll defend you in court.
Yes, you're right. But anyway, that's where I'm coming from. That we are in violation at this time of our articles of incorporation. And I agree, what Mr. Sullivan said, I agreed with, but since I had someone else here that might have a different opinion, I wanted to hear it. But it is my interpretation that we cannot change them without going before the vote, get a vote of the membership without a 67% majority. I rest my case.
All right, we do have a motion.
I did make the motion, Mr.
And-
Sweet seconded.
Right. And the motion is,
To rescind the resolution of opposition to House Bill 1402 because it is in violation of the Certificate of Incorporation and the Articles of Incorporation.
Are we still in the discussion period?
if you still have something to say.
Can the articles of incorporation be changed, and by who?
The members. A vote of the members.
Whole procedures in the Business Organizations Code to change it's not called what it is there anymore. It's called the Articles of Incorporation. And I think that's called something else, isn't it?
It's just called a certificate of incorporation.
Yeah, it's called something, if the name was changed, but you can change anything you've done. The procedures are right there in the law, how to change it.
It has to be submitted to the membership, and it's called a certificate of formation now.
Yes.
But the board has to submit it to the membership to vote on the change. That's in the law. But I think that you're making a lot of concern here is unnecessary, because it sounds like this crisis is over, and the thing is to get all these things, documents cleaned up and brought up to date to the 21st century and to go forward. And we can always organize as individuals. If you pass this motion to rescind that, you would go a long ways, and I don't know that anyone is ever going to file a suit against you, but you never know, they might. and this would go a long ways to defend yourself. You could say, well, it's irrelevant, we rescinded the motion.
Yeah.
And whether you rescind it or don't isn't gonna have any further effect than it already has had on the legislation.
We just need to cover our own situation.
Just quick, you could also put language in the declaration which allows influence of legislation, because the declaration trumps the Articles of Incorporation.
That is correct.
That surprises me.
So that's another way to go around.
Circumvent it. That was really the question I was getting at a while ago that I presented to Mr. Shahan, but you all seem to have a better answer. I'm through.
I'm done.
Any more discussion? Any more discussion? So all in favor of rescinding our approval,
Rescinding the resolution of opposition.
okay. Let Monique read it to us.
Rescinding the resolution of opposition to House Bill 1402 because it's in violation of the certificate of incorporation in the Articles of Incorporation.
It's just articles.
All in favor? All opposed? I'm sorry, I still think our water is more important than that.
May I make a subsequent suggestion or request under the Business Organization Code, Section 22-227, the director who is present at the board meeting may have entered into the minutes a dissent to action taken at the board meeting. And I would like to have my dissent placed into the minutes. At least my request for opposition be placed in the minutes of the meeting.
Yeah, strictly on the illegal, what we perceive as illegality.
I do not see it as illegal, but
It's not wrong, so that's proper, but not.
okay. In that case, we still have a 15-member member discussion. We have actually 5 people, so you could have 3 minutes apiece. But if you can get it done,
If you can get it done in less, that's even better. Did Allison Watkinson wait? Oh, there she is.
I did wait. Allison Watkinson, member in good standing of Fort Clark Springs Association. I would also like to add my commendations to the Declarations Compliance Committee. Because of a comment that I had made at a previous meeting, they've sent me their minutes, and then when they did their report, I also got a copy of that. And I don't know if everybody else in the audience has seen it, but I printed out, first of all, black and white, and I said, oh no, I've got to print it in color. They've done an excellent job with this. It is very obvious that that committee did their due diligence. So if you've not seen a copy of it or gotten a copy of it, I'm sure you can probably request it through members' information or through Bill Hahn. I have not finished reading it, but it's very obvious they've done their due diligence. One more comment. As a director at large on the community council, I just wanted to make some additional comments regarding the baler. Judy Winchell has been very diligent over the past 5 years looking at balers for the recycling center and has done her due diligence on that as well. She was able to get a baler at $6,800, which I think was probably a little bit more than she actually wanted to spend. Community Council kick-started this past January with a $2,500 contribution. And the way we justified that was that the board agreed to pay the insurance for Fort Clark days, and so therefore to offset that $2,500, we would contribute $2,500 toward the Baylor Fund. In addition to that, we put out to the membership that we would be the receivers, because we are a 501c3, of anybody else who wanted to make donations. So individual donations and a donation from the Fort Clark Historical Society of $500 have come to a total of $1,128 for the Baylor Fund. The electrical costs, I think, are more than what anybody had anticipated. And I think that Mr. Hodge has gotten something from Rio Grande at about $3,000. Looking at what Fort Clark Springs Association has committed to the Baylor of $5,000, and the amount of money from the Fort Clark Springs Community Council, our contribution, and then contribution from members as well, we are still short $1,172. At our next meeting, we're going to be talking about possible ways to raise some additional money for that. And of course, that shortage is because of the electrical cost. So if there's any way we can get that electrical cost down, make Rio Grande aware that at least 1/3 of this money is coming from charitable contributions, that maybe they could come down with a little lower price for us. Whether the Goff Committee might consider doing a charitable contribution toward the Baylor Fund as well or not, I don't know. I've asked Jan to go out and take a picture of the big stack of cardboard as well and see if we can't get a newspaper combination. And then after the meeting, I'll also talk to Katie about that as well. But we are asking that donations be made to Community Council because they would be charitable deductions for people. So we're still short $1,127. Community Council does not have that kind of money right now to be able to cover that. We are going to have to raise the money for it. We will get the job done, but we're going to need help with it.
Thank you, Allison. Exactly 3 minutes. I'm proud of you. Next is Bill. You have 2 slices, so you get 6 minutes.
She got 4.
No, I timed her, she had 3 on my clock.
Well, your clock's wrong. On this date in 1675, 340 years ago today, with the ringing of a small bell, the first Mass ever celebrated on Texas soil happened at Los Moores Spring, celebrated by Father Juan Larios for a congregation of 1,200 native people. We need to, sometime in the future, take advantage of that significance. I have a question that our organization has been accused of assuming control of parts of the fort that rightfully belong to the membership. I asked each director to explain that charge. I only got one response. So I would like to ask the board right now, what on earth are you talking about? That we assume control of parts of the fort.
I don't know who accused you of that.
Well, you're the one that wrote it, madam.
Okay, was it written exactly that way?
Yes, ma'am. The quote is, the concern by board members that your organization assumes control of parts of the fort that rightfully belong to the membership as a whole. We don't know what you're talking about. And that's a despicable charge when no one will come forward and back it up.
I'm sorry, Bill. It came from my writing. It was my mistake to write it that way. Specifically, I think what people are concerned about is that you go ahead and do things without involving the board. But
like what?
I knew that was coming.
Well, don't accuse us of things if you can't back it up. What did we do?
I'm not gonna put, I'm not, you wanna do this in private, I'll be glad.
No, ma'am. What did we do?
I have nothing for you right now. I'm almost, now I'm not gonna tell you how old I am, but.
Well, we would appreciate it if attacks on our organization were done in the open.
It's not an attack on your organization.
You're claiming that we assume control of parts of the fort.
Wait, I'm saying you do things on your own.
Tell me what I'm doing.
This is coming specifically from me, no one else. Do not accuse the board of what I am doing. All right? But there are other board members who feel as I do. I am not going to identify them because they haven't asked to be identified. But there are a number of things that bother us that I'd be glad to go over just on my account in private, if you'd like. But among them, and I'll give you this right away, among the things that you have done is you showed us, as the board, a presentation of the trails I won't come up with the trails grant that you were working on, and that Carla was supposed to be working on with you. That included it included the creek and trails out there. When you submitted it for a signature, it had only the Fort Clark Springs Historic District as the trail that you were talking about. It was a completely different grant from what you had submitted there. That was one of my problems.
And I responded to your email with the slide from the program that recommended approaching the trail grant this year through Fort Clark mud so that we got our foot in the door. That it was in the presentation. And now we're accused of doing something sinister.
Nobody's accusing you of doing anything sinister. You just reach out and take little pieces.
No, ma'am. I tell you what I'm going to do, and I do it.
You personally, not your organizations, not anything else.
No, ma'am. I'd also like to announce that we've begun our fundraising for this 175th anniversary event, and we already have nearly $1,000 in donations in less than 4 days. For the 175th anniversary of the battle at the spring.
Have you a place for where donations can be?
Pardon?
My mouth is dry. Have you a place where donations may be submitted? Please tell us.
Well, we're sending out individual letters at this point. We will put it on our website as soon as the individual letter process is complete.
Thank you.
And now for me, I only have one question. I've not received my annual report, which was due to be sent to the membership on April 10th. And I asked the board, did you send out the report?
What are you talking about?
Article 7 of the bylaws, the board of directors of the association shall cause to be sent to the members an annual report no later than 100 days after the close of the fiscal year or the calendar year. Now, if it's the calendar year, that would be April 10th. Failure to maintain or failure to prepare an annual report is a Class B misdemeanor under Texas law. We did not get an annual report sent to us.
I've never had an annual report. I've been here 9 years. I've never had.
Yes, they've been violating the law every year.
And so now you're going to start?
No, I started 2 years ago.
I missed it. I'm sorry.
Whether I start or not, it's a requirement of the bylaws and Texas law.
Well, then, could you explain to me why you were upset and upsetting members by saying that this year's the first year you didn't get one, right?
Well,
if you have, this is something you do constantly, please. And I'm accusing you again, and I don't want you to go over it again. I object to you accusing the board of doing things when you don't come to the board. And maybe you're coming to a member of the board and I don't know about it. But the thing is, if we're doing something wrong and you think this is something we should change, why not come to the board itself?
I've done that repeatedly without any results. Let me make a closing statement and I'll sit down.
Thank goodness.
Our problem as members is a majority of the board is ignorant of our dedicatory instruments and Texas law. Even when you are made aware of our dedicatory instruments and Texas law, you are defiant.
Bill, I got one question if I could. The source of the information on that first mass, where did you get that?
Pardon?
Where did you get, what's your source of information on that first mass held at Spring?
Our Catholic Heritage in Texas, a 7-volume work done in 1936 by the Knights of Columbus.
Okay, thank you.
I apologize, Bill. There must be something about you that just makes me that way. But I do apologize.
Dan, you're up.
John could maybe get that annual report out.
I'm at a loss for words. I've already said them all. Thank you.
I appreciate that. That gives Mary all kinds of time.
Is Mary still here? Well, that gives us all kinds of time for executive session. Thank you. And Bill, I did apologize. Is it accepted or not?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I will. It's 12:53. We're going into executive session, trying to keep it as short as possible, and we'll be back in regular session as soon as it's over. Thank you.
Bill, his hat too. Here. Bill. Come on.
Your hat and your umbrella.
They're old. They weren't really dirty so much as they're just really, really old. They could use some paint and some serious cleaning with heavy-duty vinegar, because there's a lot of water crust.
That's my first job cleaning restrooms.
Me too, and I was about to say, full circle.
It's 2:02 and we're back in session. I never thought I'd run a meeting this long. I apologize. The issues discussed in executive session, apparently difficult for me to walk a while and then talk. The letting of a contract for website design. Okay. Did we talk about more than that? Did I miss something?
Violation of an existing contract.
Oh, well, that was someone who had not fulfilled their contract, and whether or not to take it to JP court.
Energy contract.
Oh, yes, there was a contract for energy, but we didn't have enough information, so we let that go for now. Anything else? Okay, we also got some information for our board members that made us feel better about things. Nothing that would, just understanding more than anything. Okay? Any other issues to bring up? Please say no.
I have none.
Okay. The next regular board meeting will be June 20th, 2015 at 9 a.m. Do I have a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Second motion.
All right, we are adjourned.
We should address this, video conference. That was a June takes off in June.
I'm taking off probably next week.
You know, Ms. Barron, next week then, let's get in here and let's set up my laptop.
Y'all have a great rest of your week.
Well,
We'll put you right here.
okay. Now, I'm gonna be